Everybody, welcome along to Tattershall for round number 8 of the FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. It's of course our season finale where we're going to wrap up and crown all of our champions in all 9 classes. Some already crowned, but some yet to be crowned. There's some classes very, very close. Myself, Chris McCarthy, Liam Hodgins, here to talk you through the action this weekend. Liam, some of the championships looking very, very close, aren't they? Talk us about some of the classes in particular you're looking forward to watching.
Oh, well, the Mini GP50s, 4 riders could possibly win the championship this weekend. It's been nip and tuck all season long. It's been yo-yoing back and forth. We've got Josh Bannister 41 points behind your championship leader Harrison Crosby, but that could all change. You just don't know what's going to happen. The AC40 rookies as well, it's been all over the place for Archie Gibbs, Ollie Sims. Luke Fitchett has now come into the championship battle. 26 points cover those 3. And then our premier class, the Mini GP70s, it could be wrapped up today. So it's all to play for.
Well, you heard it there. We could wrap up some championships today, but also some could come down to the very last race of the season. How about that? And we could have more than one rider in the running when we get to that stage. It is as close as it could be. Fantastic racing coming up here at Tattershall. One of our more tight and twisty circuits that we have. Lots of hairpins, isn't there, Liam? Of course, you've actually ridden the circuit this weekend as well. It was something, it took him all the way until the last round to convince someone to actually give them the bike. And Liam, you jumped on yesterday. What do you think of the circuit?
It's a very technical, very tight circuit. Some bits of it are incredibly fast, like the final corner, turn number 9 through there, flat out on some of the mini motos. Maybe the Metro kits, the Mini GP50s and 70s will need to back off a little bit, but through the hairpin sections you can see a lot of different lines through there. Those could be an opportunity for some moves further on down the races, and of course some last lap battles. But a very technical circuit, and you've got to have your wits about you.
Not just that, but mixed conditions for this weekend as well. It is dry at the moment, but tomorrow could be very, very wet indeed. Now, before we go into the racing itself, we're just finishing up qualifying at the moment. So while we have time, let's head and speak to some of the riders who we caught up with earlier.
Evan Belfort, the Mini GP70 Championship leader, coming into the final round here at Tattershall. Evan, what has been your mindset coming into this weekend?
Just gain points really. I didn't really do Friday practice because I just wouldn't take the risk, and I think I'm ready today.
Now, you said you didn't do Friday practice, so it was very wet on Friday. Is that sort of a fallout from your injury at the start of the season? You just don't want to take too many risks because of that being so fresh in your memory?
Yeah.
So for Evan, you had a bit of an injury, a broken collarbone at round number 1. Evan, you've got a 70-point lead in the championship. What are you going to go out there and do? Are you going to go all out for the win, or just try and grab some points?
To be honest, I would like to get a win, but I'm happy with the podium or in top 5, to be honest. Just gain points, get the championship done, and then move on to my big bikes next year.
So you might wrap it up in race number 1. If you wrap it up in race number 1, will you go out for races 2 and 3?
Depends.
So for next year, what is your plans for next year? What are you going to do for 2020?
I'm riding in the Moto Star, in BSB on a Moto 3, yeah.
So what have you got lined up for the Moto 3? Have you got any tests lined up before the start of next year, or is it just all before, or you're just going to do some testing in 2020?
Well, I've got one in about 3 weeks, and then I've got another one in December and another one in March.
Sounds like we've got quite a lot coming up for you. How much are you looking forward to riding in the Moto 3?
Really, it's going to be really fun.
Evan, I can tell that you're sort of ready to go for the weekend ahead. One last wee final thing. Who do you feel like is your biggest competition this weekend?
I don't know, it could be anyone, to be honest.
Belfort Campbell, Ollie Walker's number 48 bike is behind you, Belfort Campbell, of course, Eddie O'Shea. They've been nipping your heels quite a lot recently, haven't they?
This track, it depends whoever gets off the start as well. If someone gets a better start and they're more comfortable at the start of the race, then they get the bigger lead and you won't be able to catch up with them. So it's whoever just starts off more consistent.
Evan, you're about to go back on track. I better let you go, and best of luck this weekend, and we'll see you maybe after you've wrapped up the championship.
Okay, thanks.
Got Eddie O'Shea here, who is a rider in the British Talent Cup and here at FAB for the Mini GP70s. Eddie, thanks for talking to us. And what is your plan going into this weekend?
This weekend, me and Bailey Stewart Campbell are battling for second in the championship. So I'm just here to get away with as many points as I can and hopefully get second.
So what is your target? Are you going for race wins or just podiums?
Race wins is always a bonus, but as long as I beat Bailey, I should be okay for the championship.
Evan Belford's 70 points further ahead. Is he a target at all for you, or are you just sort of trying to focus solely on second place?
I would like to beat Kevin this weekend, just because it's always nice to win. But I'm not focused on him. It just is what it is this weekend.
So there was at the start of the season, you were the runaway race winner and championship leader. There was a bit of a blip mid-season, but you've refocused again, come back to the forefront. What's changed towards the end of the season that's sort of made you find that confidence once again?
I've had a bit of a growth spurt with my old leathers, and they've become really tight on my arms. So I've had to get round that and ride the arm pump. Now I've got these leathers. It's been okay since Rara.
You mentioned arm pump. How does that affect you on the bike?
Arm pump isn't good. It makes your arms and your fingers hurt. So when you're on the brakes or using the clutch, your arms could just buckle and it hurts a lot.
It's something that no rider ever wants, or anyone at all wants. But you're now in your British Talent Cup leathers. You're racing in the British Talent Cup this season. What is your plans for 2020?
For 2020, I'll be going into the British Talent Cup with British Superbikes. So I'm looking forward to it.
And there's quite a few of you from the main GP70s and of course from the 50s going up next season. Who are you keeping a close eye on?
Well, I've had a leg up this season because I've had a full year on the bike already. So I'm hoping to beat all of them, but it is what it is.
And I'm sure it'll be a close battle between you all. Now you've got a bit of a season behind you. What have you learned so far this season?
I've learnt the bike. It's a hard bike to get used to, but I've still got to add a leg up on everyone, so I'm looking forward to it.
What's the difference between going from the big national circuits during the British Talent Cup, coming back to the main GP70s, when the go-kart tracks?
I've got used to it, but there's not really much difference. You just get on this bike and you're used to riding these tracks. You get on the Moto 3 and you're used to riding them tracks.
Sounds like you adapt like a duck to water, basically. Eddie, it's been great talking to you. What is your plan for 2020 in the British Talent Cup?
Well, I don't know.
Maybe win it?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, you've already got a season behind you. You've got a great opportunity. Enjoy the rest of your weekend here at Tattershall. Best of luck in the championship and, of course, for 2020.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. Got AC40 Rookies championship leader coming into the final round here at Tattershall, Archie Gibbs. Archie, how are you feeling coming into this weekend?
I'm really just feel a bit competitive because of this weather this weekend between tomorrow and yesterday, because yesterday was greasy and it was like greasy, and I had 2 crashes yesterday, and it's just like it was so greasy and slippy, and yeah.
You're having a look at the bikes going by in the background there, Archie, aren't you? So yesterday was tricky conditions. It was greasy, it was wet. This morning's been dry. How are you feeling in both sets of conditions?
The dry I'm really good with, but wet, it's really hard to in the wet over here because you get a lot of crashes like last year.
And how has that affected your confidence at all, the crashes in the wet conditions?
It's not really too good in the wet because it's like if you touch the white line you crash, and or if you touch a curb you crash as well, and yeah.
So you won all 3 races here back in June at round number 4 at Tattershall. Is that giving you extra confidence coming into the weekend here with a championship on the line?
Yeah, because I'm really good at here. I've been practicing a lot here, and yeah, I've been good here in the dry, but wet I mean, it's quite rubbish with it.
It might be dry today, wet tomorrow. Now, you've got Ollie Sims only a handful of points behind you in the championship. Luke Fitchett is 26 points further back from you. Who do you feel is your main rival, performance-wise, coming into this weekend?
Luke.
And why is Luke your main rival?
Because he's really good here. Because round 5 he keeps getting second behind me.
It's a tough category this season in the AC40 rookies. What's your plans for 2020? Will you stay in the rookies or will you move up to another category?
I'm going to move up to the pros and LC, so we can get a bit more quick on that, because 10 miles are really slow.
So was it the AC40 Pros you're moving up to and the LC?
Yes.
And have you tried those bikes at all yet?
No.
And what class are you looking more forward to, the Pros or the Elites?
I'm looking forward to the pros, but I like doing the both because I haven't done both, because last year was my first season. So because I haven't been in this class in the pro and LC.
It's a lot you'll be taking on board next season in the Pros and LC40 Elites. What is your target for next season?
I like being into the pros because it's a bit more, because LC's really quick and he's got really good on the straights.
There'll be a lot for you to take in, and we'll see you on these bikes, of course, here in the Coolfab paddock in 2020. Archie, thank you very much for talking to us. Best of luck this weekend and, of course, into 2020.
Thank you.
Bailey Stewart Campbell, Mini GP70 rider, joined second in the championship along with Eddie O'Shea. Bailey, how are you approaching this weekend?
Quite confident. Just don't want it to rain. Want it to be dry. I think most people want it to.
You've been very quick in the last few rounds so far. You've really gained some points in the championship, leapt up the championship order. How has that just helped build your confidence coming into the final round here at Tattershall?
It's just made a big difference in my confidence and how I ride the bike.
So what have you changed over the season to adapt your style and how you ride the bike?
At Lid, one of my sponsors helped out and they changed the setting on the bike and it's completely made a massive difference.
And what was the setting they changed on the bike?
They made the back go up by like 5mm.
And how did that help change the sort of characteristics of how the bike is handling?
It just made me turn a lot better and a lot more confident.
Now, coming into this weekend, as we said, you're joined second in championship. Are you focusing on second in championship, or are you still got that little hope of trying to catch Evan in first?
I think the main hope is second because he's a bit too far off in the distance.
And so what's your plan for the weekend? Pick up some podiums if you can, or go out for race wins?
Right, go out for race wins.
And potentially some fastest laps as well, because you've been racking them up a lot this season.
Yeah.
So what's your plan for 2020 after you finish in the Mini GP70s this year? Are you going to stick around in the class and try and win it next year, or are you going to move off and do something else?
I'm going to move into the British Talent Cup.
And have you got a Moto3 bike already for that?
Yeah, I bought one of the British Talent Cup ones.
And have you had a test at all on it yet, or are you waiting until the Coolfab season's over?
Waiting for the Coolfab season to be over.
And what is your target for 2020?
Be about mid-pack, try and see what we can do.
There's a lot of you going up next season into the British Talent Cup. It's going to be a great category. Bailey, all the best for this weekend and of course into 2020.
Thank you.
I've got Harrison Crosby with me, the leader of the Mini GP50 category and racing in the Mini GP70s. Harrison, we'll start off with the 50s first of all. You're leading the championship by 2 points over Kyle Payne. How are you approaching this weekend?
Well, really we just got to try and win every race because it's only 2 points, which is a small gap, so we need as many points as we can, really.
So it's not just Kyle Payne behind you, you've also got Ryan Hitchcock and Josh Bannister. All four of you can win title this weekend. Who are you keeping the closest eye on?
Well, obviously Kyle Payne, but if Ryan does run away with it, we still have to be a bit careful. So if Ryan or Josh beats me, then we still have to finish ahead of Kyle, because it's still points in front of everyone else.
And coming into the final round here at Tattershall in Lincolnshire, how's the practice and the qualifying gone so far?
The practice wasn't so good yesterday. I had too few many crashes after trying something new in the wet. It didn't really work. From being a good rider in the wet, from crashing that many times, it didn't really go too well. So hopefully if it rains on Sunday, we'll just go back to what we normally do in the wet and hopefully just get some good times and good positions.
What was it that you learned from yesterday that you can apply to Sunday?
Well, obviously my limit, which is if I lean too much or try and brake a little bit later, then I am going to crash. So I need to be careful of where I'm braking and where I'm leaning in and where I'm getting on the power. So yeah, I've just learnt where to do that really.
So for Saturday it's looking like it might be dry. Sunday is looking a lot worse. You've had a bit of issues in the rain already. I guess you're looking for some dry weather to maybe try and extend the championship.
Yeah, I'd like some dry weather today and try and do well today, see how I do. But the wet doesn't, I don't mind having wet weather, because usually I'm quite good in it, and I'd like to go back and see how I do again on Sunday. So yeah, I'm up for anything really this weekend.
It's a good attitude to have. Now you're racing in mini GP 70s as well. Are you applying a lot of time to that, or are you just fully focused on the 50s at the moment?
Well, over the year I've been focused on both, but coming into the round with 2 points lead, we're obviously going to focus on the 50. But the 70, we are 7th, and I'd like to maintain 7th. So yeah, we'll keep trying in that and see what we can do.
So going into 2020, you may have the 50s wrapped up and you may have 7th in the 70s. What's your plan for next year?
British Talent Cup in BSB on the standard Moto 3 bike. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Maybe go out to Spain for a few tests. But yeah, looking forward to that. Can't wait.
And where in Spain might you be testing?
Well, British Talent Cup have a 2-day test in Jerez, so I'll probably be going there, and maybe Cartagena and some of the big tracks like that.
And what is your target for the British Talent Cup in 2020?
To try and keep up with the people from FAB-Racing in the Moto 3 bikes. So yeah, that would be quite a good challenge, and I'm looking forward to it.
There's a good group of you going up next year, and Harrison, I'm sure you'll do very well. But best of luck this weekend, and we'll see if you can get it wrapped up in the 50s this weekend.
Thank you.
Well, hearing from Harrison Crosby there last of all. Liam, of course, you had a chat with him. Mini GP 50s for him this weekend, as ever, championship leader. But as we briefly mentioned at the start of our programme, that is the closest class of all, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's just been all over the place all season long. My hairs are generally standing up on end. It's that brilliant at the moment. Harrison Crosby, he's been incredible all season long. There's been a few mistakes. There's been mistakes from himself. There's been mistakes from Josh Bannister, Ryan Hitchcock, Kyle Payne. So they've all been ebbing and flowing ever so slightly. And Harrison Crosby, he seems to ooze this quiet confidence that it's not too sort of over exuberant and being too cocky, but he's quietly confident in his own ability, and we can see that he's looking forward to getting out there on the circuit.
Well, 23 points, isn't it, between the top 3, so basically it will not be decided today. This is probably the class with 2 points between the top 2 where it's most likely it's going to go down to the final race, isn't it? And the pressure that the Mini GP 50 riders are going to have on themselves, they're not very old riders at all. It's going to be a great experience for them, I think. Whoever wins it, the learning experience that they're going to take from this is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it is indeed, because as you said, the learning experience of coping with the pressure, this could be new for some of them. Some of them might not have been in this championship battle, and it's whoever copes with the pressure the best. Josh Bannister, a couple of rounds ago, he went into the Sunday races in the lead of the championship, but he injured himself, so he's now dropped 41 points further back, while the rest have just gathered up the points, picked up race wins. So Josh Bannister really has nothing to lose, so he wouldn't really have the pressure on him. He just goes out and tries to maybe win the races and sort of wait for the championship to play out. Harrison Crosby, he's been leading the championship most of the season. He may have the pressure the most. Kyle Payne has really just come into these 4 the last couple of rounds, and he won a couple of races at Rowra last time out, and he might just use that to keep his confidence building, and he's on a charge right now. And then Ryan Hitchcock, you never know. In the wet weather, he's a wet weather specialist, and if it's raining tomorrow, it could be his day.
Well, we heard from some of the 70 riders in that as well, the likes of O'Shea, Belfort, Bailey Stewart Campbell as well. They are the top three in that order. Belfort leading, O'Shea second, Stewart Campbell in third. Belfort could wrap it up today, we believe. As for the fight for second, very, very close, isn't it?
So close, they're actually equal on points. I think it goes to Countback in O'Shea's favour. Yeah, I think he's won 4 races this season to Bailey Stewart Campbell's 2. Now O'Shea won most of his races earlier on in the season. He's won 1 since. Stewart Campbell's really gone in a bit of a run recently. He started off the season just trying to get to grips with the bike, and then as every single round has gone on, he's built up, got his confidence going. Quick rider, great racecraft, goes for moves that not many people would. But God, to talk about Evan Belfort, he missed round number 1 this season. He's only done 6 rounds so far. This is his 7th. He did crash in his first practice session and broke his collarbone at Landau, and he's managed to bring himself back up, and he's now leading the championship by 70 points, and he can wrap it up here today. If he gets a top 10 finish, then that's him champion in race 1 today.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do, really. So fantastic races coming up. We're going to have the first set of races today coming up for you. Myself, Chris McCarthy, Liam Hodgins here to call you through all the action. It's going to be a brilliant day. We must talk about the other rider that we spoke to there, Archie Gibbs. You caught up with him as well. Seems like a really confident rider at the moment, doesn't he?
Blindingly fast, got to admit that. He's so fast. He goes out every single session, just bangs in the lap times, and he's very tough to beat. But what we've seen so far this season is the only one that can beat himself is himself. So he has thrown up the road. He has a couple of bike issues as well, but he's the rider to catch. He's got 18-point lead in the championship. I spoke to Ollie Sims as well, and he's actually got a bit of a different bike this weekend. He's got one of the Tevo bikes built by Andy Whedon, who's been racing in senior mini motos, and he's now found a lot of confidence in that. He says the bike flexes better, he's got more feel to it. So Ollie Sims has been super fast this weekend through the practice sessions and qualifying, so it's anything to play for, and we can't discount Luke Fitchett as well. But Archie Gibbs is the one to catch, and he's feeling quietly confident about that.
Well, it's 25 for a win, 20 for a second, 16 for a third, 13 points for a fourth, and 11 for a fifth. So points go all the way down to 15th. So if you have a really bad race, you might not score any, and that's where we've seen things change very, very quickly. It's 26 points between the top 3 in the AC40 rookie class, which Archie Gibbs is racing in himself. So very, very close indeed. We've got a 2-point advantage in the GP50, 70 in the 70s, which could be wrapped up today. Very likely it will. 18 in the rookies, and then about 46, I believe it is, in the sidecar. So that could be wrapped up today as well. We believe if Mick Williams wins today, then that is it. And potentially if he's second, he could wrap it up as well. But officially, we'll probably roll into tomorrow if that happens. So it's going to be a cracker, isn't it? Well, even the classes where the championships have been wrapped up, and they got wrapped up in a pretty dramatic fashion, it's fair to say, at Rowra, battles for second, third, fourth, they're still very important.
Absolutely, indeed. The LC40 Elites, we've been having a fantastic battle all season long between Mason Foster and Johnny Garness. Johnny Garness did pick up more wins that season, so he wrapped up the championship last time out at Rowra, but once again, they're out battling it out. Possibly for the last time they'll see each other for quite a while, because they've come through the categories together and they've raced against each other, so this could be the last season that they might race against each other, which would be a massive shame, but we've got to enjoy it for the final round. The Pit Bike 140s, Jamie King wrapped that up last time out. He's been formidable all season long. We've got a big grid this weekend, so you never know, he could be coming under some fire from some different riders. There's a couple of riders out there that have not done the full championship, but they're very quick on track as well. Extreme 200s, that's another class that have just been outstanding. Richard Holmes-Williams wrapped it up last time out as well, so he could be out there to try and defend his honour. Even though he's wrapped up the championship, he'll still want to go out and win some races.
What do you expect from this weekend? We've talked about the championship, we've talked about what could and couldn't happen. Looking at the track, the conditions as well, which, you know, we're going to get dry today, we're going to get wet tomorrow. If you like the dry, race 1, very, very important. You've got to go out there, wrap it up, get a win in before the rain falls tomorrow. Some riders can't wait for that rain to fall. Rain dances going on tonight. I don't think they'll need to do them, because it is predicted that we're going to get some sort of typhoon coming in here tomorrow. So, you know, some of the riders, it could play into their favour when we get into the last race of the season, that, you know, they've got the wet weather, that's what they like, then they've got to make the most of that, take that chance that's come for them.
Well, the rider that I will really think of being a wet weather specialist will be Ryan Hitchcock. We saw at Wilton Mill a couple of rounds ago. He was incredibly fast in the wet conditions. In the 70s, he races in the 50s and the 70s. He was 3 seconds a lap quicker than everyone else. He fell off because he was going too quick. But then he managed to get back on the bike and finished second, only a second behind your race winner, Evan Belfort. So he is someone that has been looking in the wet conditions yesterday as the rider to beat. Josh Bannister in the 50s as well likes the wet conditions. So there's a lot of riders that might do better in the wet conditions than they will in the dry. Some riders further down the field in some of the categories, like the rookies, for example, some of them just find their feet like a duck to water, so to speak, in the wet conditions.
Quite literally tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, so there's all to play for. Today is going to be dry. We believe it's dry at the moment. We believe it will stay that way, but wet weather tomorrow, and it could just completely turn the form book completely on its head. So I don't know how this one's going to play. I'm buzzing with excitement at the moment as we're about to start our first race of the weekend. So this is the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship on the road to MotoGP. We are the official partner series to the British Superbikes Championship. I'm Liam Hodgins, and alongside me all weekend will be Chris McCarthy. And Chris, I know I've been talking about how excited I am. How excited are you for this weekend? What's your thoughts?
It's been a fantastic season. I've not been able to make it to every round, but you've been here every step of the way, and we've had some fantastic racing. We've been to tracks up and down the country. The likes of Rowett, fantastic circuit. Lyd as well, Landau, where it all started. Clay Pigeon, Wilton Mill as well, where we had some pretty interesting conditions there as well, where we had some of our riders pretend to go for a swim on their way back. So we've had some fantastic antics, off circuit, and some good atmosphere. I think the thing I love, I know it's the first year for both of us coming into this series, it's the atmosphere, how welcoming everybody is, and particularly when I caught up with some of the sidecar guys earlier, they all help each other, even the championship rivals, and I think that is the same in every single class. There's no huge rivalries. I think all the riders understand that this is just the first step for them in what could be a very successful and long career for them in the sport. They're looking towards the likes of Moto3 in the future. British Talent Cup, we've got some riders going there next year. Red Bull rookies, of course, Max Cook was there this year, former rider in the series. We had one of our riders nearly become a world champion last week. We'll talk a little bit about that later, so stay tuned to find out who that was and what happened, because it came down to the very last race of the season. Not just that, but the very last lap as well. So it's been fantastic on and off track. On track though, the racing's been very, very close. It's been nice to see close racing in all classes. The sidecars in particular this year has just really stepped it up, and the racing, I think it's even surprised them. They're surprised how close it's been, and it's been a great advert for not only the class but for the series. Bikes are about to come out on to the track. So very shortly we are going to get things underway, and there we go. You can see the bikes now heading out on to the circuit. And first up, I'll hand over to Liam to talk us through the grid, but first up it's going to be our AC40 pros. Mason Foster crowned himself champion last time out, but Ethan Sparks and Clayton Edmonds could still change in the fight for second.
Ethan Sparks has been a rider to really watch. He's been pushing Mason Foster, and we have Casey Spady on the 20 machine stopped at the edge of the circuit coming out of turn number 7. Hairpin, I believe his chain may have come off. He's looking up saying, can someone come help me, I can't get it back on. It's something that I've seen quite a lot this weekend. It's quite a bumpy circuit. The curbs are very abrasive as well, so it kind of knocks the chain off of the bike. But Casey Spady is already taking his helmet off, looking despondent. Such a shame there for the number 20 rider. But we've got the rest of the riders coming to the grid positions, and Ethan Sparks, yes, he's been showing a lot of form recently. He's the only rider apart from Mason Foster to have picked up a race win in 2019. So Mason Foster has picked up every single race win on his way to the 2019 championship. He's a double champion in the AC40 Pro class, beat Johnny Garnes to a championship last season, and Ethan Sparks is now believed to be staying in the class for 2020, so he might be able to take the championship in that season So we have 18 riders supposed to be starting on the grid. We've all got 17 at the moment, as Casey Spadey has come off the grid with a chain that appears to be off. We've got some people on the side to try and get him back on the grid, but it doesn't look like it will be happening at the moment. So Chris, this could be a very important race for second and third in the championship.
It could indeed. Well, there you can see riders at the ready. Mason Foster to the left of screen there. Right, let's get ready to go racing. One or two riders keen to get away, and off we go then. It was a good start for Mason Foster. It's another green flag lap, we are being told. So we will now do the full run through of the grid for you. Mason Foster is going to be on pole position. Ethan Sparks will be alongside. Apologies for the confusion. We believe it is indeed the race start. We'll call it as it is, just in case it is. It's Mason Foster who is leading the way. Ethan Sparks settled into second place as they make their way up towards turn number 8. Then it's going to be the flat out run all the way through turn number 9 and all the way towards turn number 1. It appeared that we had no real dramas at the start, no one running into any huge problems. That is lap 1 completed. It is Mason Foster leading the way from Ethan Sparks, Samuel Munson third, Clayton Edmonds fourth. Then it's going to be Sullivan Mounsey in fifth, Finn and Werity sixth, McCartney, Huntingford, Brady and Archie O'Brien rounding out the top 10, Liam.
Yeah, it's a great battle going on for third place. Samuel Munson and Clayton Edmonds. Clayton Edmonds on the 146, all over the back of the 72 of Samuel Munson as they make their way through the infield section. Ethan Sparks is trying valiantly to tag onto the back of Mason Foster, but Mason Foster is just opening that gap ever so slightly. So, Samuel Munson, Clayton Edmonds, this is a battle we've seen so far, well, quite a lot so far in 2019, and these two have been at it hammer and tong, especially at Roura last time out, with Clayton Edmonds coming up top trumps in the third race. But along the home straight they come into turn number 1. Clayton Edmonds late on the brakes into turn number 1. Will they make a move? No, Samuel Munson sweeps round the outside to hold third position, so it's still Foster from Sparks, Munson in third, then we've got in fourth Clayton Edmonds, Sullivan Mounsey in fifth, ahead of Finn and Werty, Henry McCartney, Charlie Huntingford, Warwick Brady and Archie O'Brien rounding out the top 10.
Well, there we go. We've got a 2-bike breakaway at the moment, and then we've got about 1.7 seconds back to Munson and Edmonds. The top 4 have escaped, but in 2 separate pairs. Then we've got Mounsey, Werity, McCartney, Huntingford, Brady, O'Brien, Schofield has gone past Greg Marshall, Holly Harris in 13th place, and it's Keaton Payne, Max Werity, Blake Wilson, Jacob Stevenson, of course Casey Sparey not taking part in this one with a chain coming off on the rolling lap on his way round to the grid as the leaders are about to come through the first corner now, and it looks as if we've had a little bit of a change up front there looking at the timing screen.
We have indeed, we have Clayton Edmonds now in third spot ahead of Samuel Munson, so that happened down the straight. Samuel Munson got a bit of a lady moment coming out of the final turn. Clayton Edmonds pulled alongside him. Clayton Edmonds is a little bit faster down the home straight, but into turn 1 Clayton Edmonds was well ahead of Samuel Munson, but Samuel Munson is pinching onto the back of Clayton Edmonds as they make their way up towards turn number 8, and he's looking to make a move on the 1-4-6 rider with 6.5 laps remaining. So as they make their way through turn number 8 now, Clayton Edmonds is still in third spot ahead of the 72 of Samuel Munson, and Clayton Edmonds' bike just seems to have that bit more power. Maybe it's a slightly lighter rider and can just leap off of the hairpins down the home straight, Chris.
Indeed, as they come through turn number 2, fast left-hander that one, and then we've got 3 and 4. They come pretty quickly for the riders. Now, Gap is coming down, I believe, out front, or is it? I don't know if we've had a change for second. On the screen it looks like Sparks is 2.3 seconds back from Foster, who has set yet another fastest lap. Foster absolutely flying out front. as Liam said, there has been a change for third. There's been further changes back as well. I believe Henry McCartney has dropped down the field. I believe Warwick Brady and Archie O'Brien were on the move, Liam.
We've got a rider stopped out on circuit coming out of turn number 4. Not sure who it is, but we will keep an eye on it and give you an update when we can. But great. You pointed out there that you believe that Sparks might be on the move trying to catch Mason Foster. The gap is still going up ever so slightly, but it's not going up as fast as it once did.
Who's that?
So it's a number 64 rider that's pulled off at the edge of the circuit. Yeah, it's Luke Schofield. That's a shame for Luke Schofield on the number 64 machine. So not too sure what happened there. Not sure if it was a bike issue, maybe a rider fault, but lifted it up and okay sitting by the edge of the circuit. But Edmonds is extending that gap towards Samuel Munson now that he's made it into third spot, just eking the gap ever so slightly. There's a big gap between first and second. That gap is now 2.7 seconds, and for the first time this race we've got Ethan Sparks in the 49, so a 49.931, but he's still 10th of a second slower than your champion and your race leader Mason Foster. Clayton Edmonds is still in third, and he's now opened up the gap over Samuel Munson to fourth spot to 8/10 of a second. Samuel Munson in 5th, Charlie Huntingwood 6th, Finn and Werty followed by Warwick Brady in 7th and 8th, Archie O'Brien 9th, and Henry McCartney is now in 10th position.
Well, Mason Foster, you can see why he is champion already and 122 points clear from the rest of the field, because his gap is now up to almost 3 seconds. But Ethan Sparks, the reason he sits so comfortably in second is because he is the only rider that can get anywhere near him within 3 seconds last time around. But we are about to complete lap number 6. Only 3 laps remaining in this one. 3 seconds it is between our top 2. Third and fourth have separated themselves as well, so let's pick out where the battles are going on. Sullivan Mounsey, Charlie Hunterford also spread out, but Finn and Werty and Warwick Brady fairly close together. They're just coming through turn number 1 at the moment, now through the long left-hander at turn 2. Very fast corner, that one, and then we come up to 3 and 4. Warwick Brady just trying to line up a move here as they now make their way through the infield hairpins. This is where it starts to get very tight and twisty around this Tattershall circuit. I think it's a love or hate circuit, really, given its layout. Liam loved it when he was able to go out there and have a go, and I can tell you right now he won't shut up about it all weekend as they come through turn number 8. Werty and Brady almost nose to tail now as they head through turn number 9, and then they'll come onto the start-finish straight. 2 laps to go. Brady's lining one up here. Werty, is he going to be able to hold on? And well, wow. Brady front tyre had a big wobble there. That was, I think, just a mistake under braking. There is a bump in the circuit there as they hit the brakes, and I think that caught him out there, Liam.
It looked like that was the case. Indeed, as you mentioned, there's a horrible bump there. Some riders try and brake just after the bump so it doesn't unsettle the bike. Looked like Warwick Brady might have just braked on the bump, and he locked up the front, but thankfully stayed on. But there was a great battle going on for 7th and 8th spot there. That just really exploded that battle. So Warwick Brady, Finn and Werty, apologies, seems to be the one to keep it. But we're on the final lap now. This is Mason Foster's win for the taking. He's completing the second, or he's about to complete the first half of the lap as he makes way through turn number 5 into the infield section, and we've got the number 88 on the Dayglow yellow machine. Mason Foster, your champion already, makes his way down towards the final hairpin, the final left-hand hairpin, up the way up towards the right hairpin. So the penultimate corner on the track is Mason Foster. Powering out of the hairpin, down towards the final corner, flat out right-hander. Mason Foster, your champion and race winner, comes across the line, sees the check flag. Mason Foster is your race winner in race number 1 for the AC40 Pros. Ethan Sparks comes across the line 5.2 seconds further back, and then we wait for the battle. Clayton Edmonds or Samuel Munson, who will it be? As we look out of the commentary box window, it's Clayton Edmonds followed by Samuel Munson, and 5th spot is Sullivan Mounsey. That is your top 5 for the moment as the checkered flag continues to wave. Charlie Hunterford in 6th. Finn and Werty finished 1.5 seconds ahead of Warwick Brady after Brady's mistake on the penultimate lap. Archie O'Brien in 9th, and then we seem to have Henry McCartney coming across the line, taking the checker flag. Great right there for Henry McCartney, a top 10 finish there, and hitting his handlebar. It goes a great ride, Henry. Don't be too upset with yourself. Greg Marshall comes across the line in 11th, ahead of Holly Harris, and then we've got Keaton Payne in 13th. Blake Wilson already finished in 15th, ahead of Max Huerta, and Jacob Stevenson a lap down in 14th spot.
Well, a good way to get us underway this afternoon. The first set of races coming up, starting off with AC40 Pro there, and Mason Foster it was who took the win, our champion already, from Ethan Sparks and Clayton Edmonds. The rookies will be coming up next. Then we will have the senior mini motos, the sidecars, the junior LC40 elite, the pit bike 140s and moto team, mini GP 50. We are expecting them to come out at about 5 to 4. Then we have Extreme 200s at 4:15, and at 4:35 that is when we are going to see Mini GP 70. I'll go through that one more time with the time. So we've got rookies next. About 50 minutes past 2 is when Mini Motos are going to come out. 5 minutes past 3 is sidecars, and then we go forward 15 minutes each race as long as we're running to time. So 20 minutes past 3 LC40 Elites, 35 minutes past 3 Pit Bike 140 and Moto team, then Mini GP 50 at 55 minutes past 3. At 4:15 Extreme 200s, 4:35 is when we're going to see the 70s. Well, I'd say that was a pretty good way to get us underway for our season finale here at Tattershall. They're never the closest races, the pros. There is always that big difference in experience, isn't there? You know, we've got some riders that are perhaps in their second season in racing altogether, having just come up from the rookies, and they're racing some riders who have been at this for a little bit of time, and in the likes of, say, Mason Foster. So we often do get the spread in the field that we have there, but it's about the battles that happen up and down the order, isn't it?
Yeah, I was speaking to Ethan Sparks, his dad, yesterday when he was on a track walk, and he was saying that Ethan Sparks came up from the rookies last year into this year, and it's been a real learning year, and he's already on the pace of Mason Foster, a lot of rounds. And he says that there seems to be a lot of people that have missed out on the pros this season, because coming from the rookies, a lot of them skipped past the pros and went into either the elites or the 50s. So it's a bit of a spread out field for that. There's not a lot of riders in the field, but a lot of them coming from the rookies this season will go into the pros in 2020. And talking of the rookies, they will be out on track next. So just to remind you about the championship order for the AC40 rookies, we've got Archie Gibbs on 360 points. 18 points further back is Ollie Sims on bike number 73 on 342, and then Luke Fitchett, who's 26 points further back from Archie Gibbs, is on 334 points. So they are the only three in championship contention in this final round. There's 25 points for a race win, 20 for second, 16 points for third. Now, Luke Fitchett will not be able to try and take the championship lead today, but he's all to play for. There's still 75 points up for grabs here this weekend. There's 3 races, 75 points all to play for. It can all happen in the AC40 rookies in the round number 8 at Tattershall. So this is on the road to MotoGP, the official series to the British Superbikes Championship. We are the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, and as the riders make their way around the track, here's Chris McCarthy with the grid.
Joshua Williams is going to be on the front row. Alongside him, Archie Gibbs, one of the championship contenders. One of the others is on row 2. Watch for Marco Holt. He is in form. Luke Fitchett in contention for the series, as is Ollie Sims, who is on row 3 with William Harris. Then it's Dilks and Payne on row 4. Keane and Trevor Rowe are going to be row 5. Row number 6, Johnson and Wilson. Then we have Carr and Goulery on row 7. Lawrence and Johnson are going to be row 8. Chloe Sewell is going to be on row number 9 with Maxwell. Izzy Carter on row number 10 with Travis Shaw. Ben Byrne is going to round out the field down in 21st place. Riders are at the ready. Grid is formed. Mechanics are leaving the grid. Here's Liam Hodgins to talk you through the start of the AC40 rookies' first race.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now expect fireworks in this race. Archie Gibbs, your championship leader, starts on the right hand side, the left hand side for him, right hand side if anyone's looking down towards the grid. The revs are rising, the final mechanics come off of the grid. The green flag will be up in the air and being dropped for the start of this race. 21 riders on the grid, so there's a lot to be filled out there on the circuit. Joshua Williams starting for pole position. Archie Gibbs alongside him gets a great start. Marco Holt from third position on the grid up towards turn number 1. Will he take the lead? No, he won't. That will be Joshua Williams, but he has taken second position. The rider that won 2 out of 3 races at Rowra last time out. But Archie Gibbs is back into second, and Ollie Sims looks to be making a move up towards third spot into turn number 4. Was it Ollie Sims? It was indeed Ollie Sims on the number 73 bits. Ollie Sims is down. He's down. That's he's been clipped. That's a shame for Ollie Sims as he tried to avoid the rest of the riders. That will surely be a red flag to see if the riders are okay, but that's a shame for the number 73 rider of Ollie Sims, who was second in the championship coming into this race, and the red flags are out. Indeed, that's good to see, because the riders will have to be checked. So Ollie Sims was clipped by another rider. Not sure who the other rider was, but the red flags are out, and the riders have been told to stop as they make their way back to the grid. Chris, that's such a shame for Ollie Sims on the bike number 73.
Well, you know, 2 riders involved in that incident, and it was it just seems like one of those things, unfortunately, that happen in racing sometimes. Second rider involved, nowhere to go. First rider, a simple mistake that could have been anyone. So we can say that the ambulance is over there, riders are both being treated to, and it was over there very, very quickly. So we will leave the guys who know what they're doing to sort that one out, and we will talk a little bit about the championship, I guess, and the start of the race, because as you said, Marco Holt almost got a fantastic start to the race, and then the 3 riders battling for the championship made sure that they were making some places up. It is Archie Gibbs, Ollie Sims and Luke Fitchett battling for that, but some fantastic riders up and down the field. We've got a fairly big grid for the AC40 rookies. I believe we have our riders perhaps coming back to the pit lane.
I believe you're right, Chris.
So that looks like to be the case. They've been sent back into the pits. So we'll keep you informed with what is happening. As I said, we had medical attention over extremely quickly, and the guys who know what they're doing are now attending to both riders involved. So we will not talk any further about that until we know any information. So yes, we've got the riders in the AC40 rookies heading back to pit lane. Well, you're watching the Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the Road to MotoGP and the official partner series of the BSB. I'm Chris McCarthy, that's Liam Hodgins. Thank you very much for being with us on our coverage of the series. It is the final round, if you're just with us now. Round number 8, we're here at Tattershall. While we have some time, let's reflect on the season so far. We started all the way back at Landau. It only seems like yesterday that we were both there talking through the very first round. We were coming into that championship. We didn't know who was going to be in contention, who was going to win, who was going to be the biggest movers throughout the field. We've talked a lot about the leaders. Let's try and pick out some of the riders who have stood out as the kind of best... how do I say this?
The sort of the up-and-comers, or the
up-and-coming riders. There is an official word for it, but there we go.
There's some words for it.
I forgot it. The Rising Stars.
The Rising Stars, yeah. We'll
that's
go for
good
that.
one. Most improved riders, I think, is what we call the official title to it. We've had some brilliant ones stand out. Marco Holt, we mentioned him at the start of that one. Surely, in this class, he's got to be up there for that.
Absolutely, yeah. I had a feeling you were going to say Marco Holt. That's why I picked up the grid to say Marco Holt. But
yeah,
yes,
he pointed to Marco Holt.
Yeah, I had to do that. But Marco, yeah, won both races at Rowra. Came second in the other race. 70 points he took away from that round, and it was incredible for Marco Holt. As you said, he was a big standout for you at round number 7.
Yes.
Another couple of standouts will be Casey Spadey on bike number 20. Unfortunately, he missed out on the start of the race. So Casey Spadey, he was supposed to be racing in the rookies. I believe this weekend he's moved up to the pros, so he was a big standout. He picked up some race wins. He's come through. He started racing this season. It's his first year, so he's trialling this round out for the pros next season. Joshua Williams, there's been a couple of rides that he's been shown a lot of promise, but this weekend starting on pole position, and he's another standout rider in the rookies. But the ones that we've got to say are the biggest standouts are your championship leaders: Archie Gibbs, Ollie Sims, Luke Fitchett, Blake Wilson as well. At one point in the season, he decided to call it quits after Lid and the rookies and move up to the pros. So there's been a lot to talk about, a lot to look forward to in the rookies, and there's a lot of big names that we've got to keep an eye on because they will be moving up the championships a lot and could be big stars of the future.
And what about Mini GP50? Because that is a class where some riders will do the likes of the AC40, the AC40 Elites or the AC40 Pros, and they'll also have a go at the Mini GP50s as well, just as a little bit of a taster, bed themselves in, get used to the gears for the first time, get used to the more power, tyres as well, of course, more grip. You know, we've got some riders that have tried that, have dabbled in that, and they are showing real good promise, aren't they, for a potential full shot at it next season?
Yeah, there is indeed. There's a few riders that have dabbled in, as you said. Blake Wilson is now dabbling in the 50s. He bought himself a Metro Kit bike. We saw that at Wilton. I don't believe he rode it, but he took it out for a couple of sessions. And that's something that he's looking to move up to. A couple of other riders, Cameron Soule decided to jump into the 50s mid-season, coming up from the LC40 Elites. Some of the riders are dabbling in and out, just seeing if they want to do it next season. But what I found really interesting, I spoke to a rider earlier on today, and I'm not saying who it is because we actually have an interview of that rider, but you're going to have to stick around for that at some point this weekend. But he was saying that he races in the Elites and the 50s, and he was saying that he actually prefers the mini motos. And I was thinking to myself,
wow,
really, that's a bit strange. But it was just, I think it was just more suited to the sort of nature of the Cool FAB-Racing series and the circuits that we race on. So the 50s are incredible machines. So are the 70s. It's just gives all the riders all the learning curve they need to potentially go on and race in Moto3 in the near future.
And then when they get to the Mini GP50s, they then do the Mini GP70s at the same time as well. We've had crossovers with some riders doing both of those at the same time. And all that does really is just prepares them for then a full assault at the Mini GP70s. Once they get to Mini GP70s, it is eyes on the next stage. As we said, this is the Road to MotoGP, so the next thing they will go to after this is the British Talent Cup, is the Red Bull Rookies. If they finish in the top 3 in the British Talent Cup, where they will be racing at the likes of at Silverstone, Brands Hatch, Donington Park, in front of huge crowds, steady the 40,000 people, then they'll try and get onto the Red Bull Rookies, where they're at the MotoGP weekends themselves, hundreds of thousands of people there watching, everyone tuned in to Red Bull TV to watch them live as well, and they're in front of the big manufacturers, and that is where they can get noticed, and then maybe go on to the Moto3 Junior World Championship or the Moto3 Grand Prix Series itself. So that is why we have that's why we have that title as Road to MotoGP, an official partner series of the BSB, because we put them on that ladder.
You've got to look at the riders we've had in the past. Max Cook, we've had Scott Redding in the past, we've had Brad Ray, we've had Strudwick, we've had them all that have come through the Cool FAB-Racing series, and they've now gone on to do the British Talent Cup. They've gone in to do the Red Bull Rookies. Even Brad Ray, he's in the BSB Championship. We've got Scott Redding now, he's been in MotoGP. We've had lots of riders that have come through this series, and we've got plenty more on the way up.
Now, while we have some time, I know you're eager to talk about it. Let's go back and talk about that lab, because he even wanted to get out this morning. He didn't want to jump on the headphones. He wanted to get out very, very quickly before we start talking about... in fact, is this some footage that we have? I believe it is. So, how were you feeling at this point when you went out there? And, of course, cameras could hardly keep up with you. You were going so fast. How was it? I mean, how many years has it been since you rode a bike?
It's been 11 years since I've ridden a bike. It's been 12 years since I've ridden a mini moto. I used to race up in Scotland on these things, and the biggest difference I found was like, wait a minute, how did I used to film this? I can't move about at all. I was literally trying to move my weight around. I was like, this is impossible to do. So I'm literally today, I've got very sore hips, because as we can see with a lot of riders, they've got to stick their legs right out, and when it comes to an adult, I still can't believe I'm an adult, but there's barely anywhere to move. So going around the circuit, through right-handers, I was okay. Moving over to the left, I just couldn't get through them at all. But it was a lot of fun. I wanted to go back out in every single session. Bernie Hook, who allowed me to ride his bike. He's the senior mini moto champion of 2019. Now this is his wet bike that he gave me because it was very slick conditions out there. It started raining just before I went out on track, so I didn't even get to try the dry. So I'm out there in the wet for the first time in 12 years, and I wasn't too far off the next place. So
you weren't doing the lean. Now I want you to talk me through this moment coming up where your confidence is rising at this point. You're thinking, yeah, this is good. You know the cameras are on you. You start to get a little bit too confident, perhaps. And then, I believe, it all went wrong. So talk us through the moment where you had a fall for perhaps the first time in about 12 years.
Well, I came close to falling a couple of times. There's a moment that might pop up at some point where I run off the track.
Indeed it will.
I done a Mark Marquez. I managed to lose the front and the rear end and save it coming out of the the turn 7 hairpin. But
that's a bold statement.
Oh, well, I mean, Mark Marquez, I believe, would be very proud of that indeed. I'm kidding on. And I was just trying to get back into it. I was very stiff on the bike, and yeah, so there was a few moments on track, and the first few laps was just very, very wobbly, very wobbly indeed. But towards the end, I picked up a bit. So there will be a moment popping up.
Talk us through a lap. Now, I believe we're at turn 2. From here on, talk us through it.
So yeah, turn 2 is, I believe, flat in the dry, but roll off a little bit into this corner. I wasn't too sure where the grip was through turn number 3, but into turn 5, a little dab of the brake pedal, of the brake lever, not pedal, sorry, and trying to get over to the other side of the bike into turn number 5, and I saw the Cuds were behind me, so I just thought, you know what, I better let them go. Josh Bannister and Charlie Huntingford as well.
That's the excuse.
Yeah, I thought, I was like, you know what, yeah, it might be the only time you get to overtake me, so I better just let you go at the moment. So into turn number 7, try to get my head down, and as you make your way up towards the kink, that's when the power just really kicked in. So I backed off before I threw myself over the top of the handlebars, got my knee down through turn number 9, so I couldn't believe that happened. So I was very pleased with that. Fly out final corner here, so that was good fun, going fly out through the final corner. And then full throttle all the way down the home straight, over the bump, and then into the braking zone is another bump as you make your way into turn number 1. And this corner comes up a lot quicker than you actually expect it to.
Now, this really is quite a good, you're giving people quite a good example here of how is it to come into the series. So anyone that's out there that's enjoying watching the coverage, there we go, I think that's a relevant title. How long would you say it would take to get up to speed, get comfortable on a bike? I know you've had some experience before, but it's been a very, very long time. Everyone was very helpful with you in getting onto it. I guess this is almost a kind of a good advert for the series in a way, to show that you can get on the bike.
You just missed it there. I lost the front there after Josh Birkin, one of the Birkins, fell off and coming at the corner. But yeah, you were saying.
I'm surprised no one did a Romano Fenati and just.
I think a few of them wanted to. I wouldn't put it past them to try it. But it's a. You think from watching it, you know what, that looks easy. I can do that. And then anyone's not ridden a mini motor or done anything like this for a number of years, you get back on it and go, wow, I've lost more than I thought I would have.
How hard is it?
It's not the hardest thing in the world to do, but it's extremely tough. So
physically,
yes. To be fair, I lost feeling in my right arm after about 3 minutes, and it was a 10-minute session, and I was thinking, you know what, I might just pull into the pits. In the last couple of minutes, it started freeing itself up again. So I believe just using the muscles and things I haven't used for a long time.
Oh, that was a close one.
Oh, yeah, I did nearly run off track there, so that was my own fault there. I believe I outbrake myself trying to keep Josh Birkin behind me. I do run off track ever so slightly there.
Ever so slightly, yeah, just on the grass, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, I tried to crash, because they said if you crash, then you'll get out of your system, but yeah, I was a few seconds off the pace, not too far.
Just a few. And how long is that lap round here?
In the wet conditions, it is roughly a minute, so...
Right.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't just rough. So it wasn't just tough conditions. It was slippy conditions.
You were over a second slower per corner.
You could put it that way. Hey, I was out in slick conditions. I wasn't given the full wet or the full dry. It was the worst conditions. I spoke to a lot of riders in the paddock afterwards and beforehand. They said that in this middle ground in the weather is the worst one around the Tattershall circuit. So I'm not trying to find any racer excuses at all in this.
No. I mean, have you ran out of them yet? There's more. There's
more in the locker.
There's more. Well, a fantastic experience though, right?
Yeah, to be fair, I kind of caught the bug again, and I was thinking to myself, even in bed last night, there's so much more I could have done differently, and I know exactly what I can do differently for next time. But unfortunately, didn't get another opportunity in the dry conditions today. But maybe again next time.
Well, I'm sure if you're back next season, hopefully you'll be able to do that again. Is there any circuits? We might as well ask the paddock now. Is there any circuits in particular you'd love to have a go on again? Any circuits that you used to race at that you particularly enjoyed?
Well, I'll start off with one up in Scotland. Is Lark Hall. Now, that was a fantastic race course. They've extended it now, so it's a bit longer, It looks a bit different. It looks great, to be fair, so I'd love an opportunity in that. There was a track outside Edinburgh called Raceland. That was a very fast circuit, incredibly good, but it's been wrapped up, unfortunately, in the last couple of years. I would love to have a chance at Rowra. That track looks fantastic. Lyd as well down in Kent. Wilton Mill, another great one. To be fair, all the tracks on the Cool Fab calendar. I've had a shot at Tattershall, and I loved every single second of it.
You've ticked one off, in terms of doing it whilst being a commentator on the series. Let's see if we can get you on it again. Well, great fun either way.
It's good. It's good to actually get an eye in of how the track is, because when you're walking around it, or we are sort of commentating on the riders going around, you just don't really know the little intricacies of a racetrack. For example, the left-handers, they've got a bit of a bolt to them and a bit of a camber, so it kind of helps the bike go round. And coming out of it, you can maybe crack on the throttle a little bit harder than you would possibly do on a level surface of a corner. Then you've got a lot of bumps out there that we don't really realise. The home straight, there's a massive bump. Now, looking from the side of the track, it looks kind of big, but it doesn't look as big as you think it is. You come flying over that, you get a bit of air if you're going fast enough. I wasn't going fast enough to get air, but maybe one day if I get another chance, I might get some air on that bike. But it's great fun. The bump into turn one, you see it on camera, you see it on the side of the circuit. It does unsettle the bike, and you go into that and go, wow, I can't believe they're breaking super deep into this corner, and it can unsettle the bike. So there's a lot of stuff you see out on circuit from riding that you wouldn't normally see round about the circuit as a spectator.
I guess one thing that it does show is how high the standard is of the series, isn't it? When you were out there, you must have noticed that everyone was very fast in tricky conditions. The level of standard is very high, isn't it?
Well, these guys, the senior mini motos, for example, these are ex-champions, British champions in the mini motos. Bernie Hook was a champion in 2004, and many of the other ones. So the standard there is super high, and it goes from the top, from the adults all the way down to the kids.
Well, let's go through the grid because the rookies are back out. Here is the grid for you. Josh Williams, Archie Gibbs, row 1. Marco Holt and Luke Fitchett, row 2. Then it's Ollie Sims and William Harris, Wilson Dilks, Harry Payne. Rounding out the top 10 is Brandon Keane and Thorley Trevorrow. Row number 6 is going to be Byron Johnson and Max Wilson. Arnie Carr and Noah Goulery will be on row number 7. Then it is going to be Bailey Lawrence and Austin Johnson on row number 8. Chloe Saul is going to be on row number 9 with Callum Maxwell. Row number 10, it'll be Izzy Carter and Travis Shaw. At the very back of the grid, it is going to be Ben Byrne. Well, that is the grid. The AC40 rookies are back out on track after the delay we had to clear up the incident, unfortunate incident that saw the red flags come out. And we hope everyone that was involved in that incident is now back out on track and racing again. But this is one of the classes where the championship is yet to be decided. 26 points between the top 3, 18 between the top 2. Leading the championship is Archie Gibbs. He'll be on the outside of row number 1. Ollie Sims is going to start from P5, 18 points behind Gibbs, so needs to close that gap down. Luke Fitchett is third, 26 points behind Gibbs, and Luke Fitchett starts directly behind Gibbs in 4th place. So the bikes are now just making their way into their grid slots. It won't be too long before the green flag is waved, and AC40 rookies race number 1 will be underway. So as the last of the bikes get their way into position, I'm going to hand you over to Liam Hodgins, who will talk you through the race starts.
Thank you very much, Chris. Race start number 2 for the AC40 rookies. after a red flag earlier on. So championship leader Archie Gibbs will be starting from second position. You got a good start in the first start of the race, was in second spot just behind your pole sitter Joshua Williams, but I must draw your attention to the number 58 of Marco Holt. Marco Holt got an absolute flyer in the first start and nearly made his way into the lead into turn number 1, but slotted into second before Archie Gibbs retook that slot. So there's a couple of riders missing from this restart of the race, the riders that were involved in the incident earlier on, and we'll keep you up to date on all of that as and when we get the information. But as the marshals step off the grid, most of these marshals are adults, they're the parents of the kids, but the green flag is about to drop. Revs are rising and away they go. Another great start from Marco Holt from row number 2 in third spot. He's already up to second position. Archie Gibbs drops down to third, but Joshua Williams from pole position still leads the way. Some of the runners and riders further back just tripping over each other very slightly into turn number 1, but everyone's still stationary and upright for the time being as they make their way into turns 3 and 4, setting the bike up towards the left-hander into turn number 5. It's Joshua Williams on bike number 78, still ahead of the 58 of Marco Holt. Archie Gibbs is in third spot, and just behind him, he will have to look out for this, it's Luke Fitchett. Luke Fitchett from fourth spot on the grid, 26 points behind Archie Gibbs in the championship. He can take the fight towards Archie Gibbs for the remainder of this weekend and try and wrap up the title from Archie Gibbs in the AC40 Rookies 2019 Championship. So as they come across start finish line to complete lap number 1, it's Joshua Williams from Marco Holt, 1.5 seconds covering them. Archie Gibbs looks up the inside of Holt but has to back off, and Luke Fitchett nearly makes a move into turn number 1 in fourth spot. Wilson Dilks in fifth ahead of Harry Payne, William Harris in seventh, Thornley Trevorrow on bike number 42 in 8th, Arnie Carter in 8th, and then Max Wilson in 10th.
Well, a great start from Joshua Williams. He's got a lead, he's in the lead and has a advantage as well of 1.5 seconds behind Marco Holt on the number 58 bike, battling away with the number 3 of Archie Gibbs, who is the championship leader. Luke Fitchett on the 96 is just behind those two, so it's a trio fighting for second, and Luke Fitchett on the 96 is one of our championship contenders as well. Wilson Dilks is up to 5th place, up from 7th, so good start from Wilson. Harry Payne is up to 6th place from 8th on the grid. William Harris is in 7th place. Thorley Trevorrow has moved up from 10th to 8th. Then we have Arnie Carr and Max Wilson rounding out the top 10.
We've got a change for a third. Luke Fitchett up the inside of Archie Gibbs. Archie Gibbs got a great run out of turn number 1, back up the inside into turn number 2. These are your championship contenders, Archie Gibbs in number 3 and Luke Fitchett on bike number 96. These two will be going at it hammer and tong, Chris, and Luke Fitchett's looking up the inside in turn number 5, left-hander. Luke Fitchett is on an absolute mission at the moment. Archie Gibbs with his closest rival Ollie Sims not taking the restart in this race. All he has to do is settle for the points, while Luke Fitchett has to get as many as he can possibly get. But Marco Holt, who's been a bit of a revelation in the last couple of rounds, is still sitting in second position on the number 58 bike. Spoke to his dad this weekend, saying that he hasn't enjoyed the Tattershall course as much as he did at Rowrah, but he's showing his prowess at the moment. And to turn at number 1 they go. Archie Gibbs, will he be late on the brakes? He's already powered past Marco Holt, and then Luke Fitchett moves into third as well, so that is Marco Holt gone from second into fourth, and Luke Fitchett had to make that move stick as he saw Archie Gibbs pull into second and will try and break away from the pair.
Yeah, that was a very important move for Luke Fitchett to get done. Doesn't want to see Archie Gibbs, the championship leader, get away. Now the difference between Gibbs in second and Fitchett in third is 26 points. With no Ollie Sims, Fitchett will move up to second in the standings as long as he stays on the road. At the moment, the gap will have risen to 30 points between Gibbs and Fitchett. So Fitchett really needs to beat Archie Gibbs, which is easier said than done, and if he could get Marco Holt to go past him as well, that would be even better. But we'll see what happens as they come across the line. There is 5 to go. Joshua Williams leading by 4.3 seconds, but Archie Gibbs, determined to extend that championship lead, has just set the fastest lap of the race in second place, 54.063. The gap is ever so slightly coming down to Williams. Fitchett in third place has dropped back by 9/10 of a second. They're starting to hit traffic though, and Fitchett is closing back in. So Fitchett closing back in. He needs to try and get in the toe of Gibbs here. Holt is fourth, Dilk, Payne, Harris, Trevorrow, Wilson and Carr rounding up the top 10. Noah Goulery has gone past Austin Johnson for 13th. Things getting very exciting out front though, Liam.
Oh, they are indeed. Those back markers really mucked up Archie Gibbs through the infield section. It allowed Fitchett and Holt to catch back up again. And now that they've tagged onto the back of him, they might not let him get away from this battle for second. Luke Fitchett is very late on the brakes, takes a very different line into turn number 1. Maybe just trying to avoid the bump a little bit more, but gets a horrible run out of turn number 1. Marco Holt looking up the inside in turn number 2, not doing it over the bumps to go, flicking it right into turn number 3, setting it up ever so slightly into turn number 4. Marco Holt all over the back of second place in the championship. If it stays the way it is, it'll be 30 points between Archie Gibbs and Luke Fitchett in first and second. Just to remind you, no Ollie Sims in this race. Ollie Sims did not take up the restart. He was 18 points behind Archie Gibbs coming into this race. So Archie Gibbs, his main focus will now be on the number 96 of Luke Fitchett. Luke Fitchett is coming under extremely hot pressure now from Marco Holt, powering down and towards the final corner. Marco Holt looking up the inside of the fast right-hander. Coming across start finish line now, side by side. Luke Fitchett chops off the nose of Marco Holt as they make their way into turn number 1. And Archie Gibbs still setting blistering lap times of 54.4. He's 0.2 of a second quicker than your leader, Joshua Williams. But with a 4.4 second gap, I can't see him catching with 3 laps to go.
Further back, Noah Goulery making further progress up to 12th place now, just going ahead of Bailey Lawrence. The rest of the top 10 remains as it is, and now things have settled. Gibbs has started to pull away from Fitchett again. The gap has climbed up to the biggest it has been at 1 second, but there are a huge queue of back markers just ahead, and it is who can get past them quickest as they come through turn number 8, the far hairpin, which will lead us onto the long right hand of the last corner at turn number 9. Luke Fitchett just trying to get his head down. He's got pressure from Marco Holt behind there. Marco Holt's going to dive around the inside. Marco Holt is through. So Marco Holt into third place with a brave move around the outside at turn number 9. It's flat out all the way through there, and this is not good news for Fitchett. So Fitchett now will score 13 points. So it will extend Gibbs' lead by a further 7, bringing it up to 33 points, which will make Luke Fitchett's task tomorrow very, very difficult. He's still got time to fight back though. 2 to go, Liam. Archie Gibbs, another fastest lap.
Archie Gibbs is on fire right now, but Marco Holt, the bravest of braves, moves round the outside of the flat out turn number 9, and I think that's just really fired up Luke Fitchett for the last lap and a bit. As I say that, he makes a move up, he's down, he's taking it, Marco Holt. No, that's incredible scenes here from the AC40 rookies, both up okay. The back end to the race, they're both trying to get the bike started, and Marco Holt is looking over towards Fitchett, go, what have you just done to me? So Marco Holt was taken out of the race. I don't believe they've lost too many positions. They're back up and they're back into the race. Last lap of the race, Marco Holt still in third. Luke Fitchett's now in third, so they both fell off, back up, and they're still third and fourth. This is anyone's race for a third spot, but back at the front, Joshua Williams, a bike number 78, is in the infield section of the circuit. So with the black bike with the Red Bull logo on the side of it, Joshua Williams, a couple of corners to go. Chris looks to be wrapping this one up.
Well, we haven't spoke much about Joshua Williams, but it's because he has been that far ahead. But just 1 corner to go for Joshua Williams. Further back, the number 96 and 58, Holt and Fitchett still battling away. Holt behind, but Williams is going to come across the line and take a very, very comfortable victory. What a race by Joshua Williams. Archie Gibbs, cool and collected, and extends his championship lead out front. Behind, though, who is going to take third place? It's going to be a drag race between Holt and Fitchett. And Fitchett, despite that incident, is going to finish in third. Marco Holt, I don't think will be best pleased with that at all. Wilson Dilks, what a performance from Wilson. Loves this circuit, and that proved there. 5th place, brilliant from the 85. William Harris finishes in 6th place. Harry Payne in 7th. Thorley Trevorrow was 8th. Max Wilson 9th. Arnie Carr's going to round out the top 10. Well, what a race. Joshua Williams, when you're in the lead and you don't get spoken about much, that means you have had a very comfortable win, and Joshua Williams is your winner. Second place is going to be Archie Gibbs, extends his championship lead as well to 30 points with that result, and Luke Fitchett, third place for him. But we must reflect, Liam. In fact, before we do, we'll just go through the rest of the order because outside of the top 10 it was Byron Johnson, Bailey Lawrence, Austin Johnson, Noah Goulery, Chloe Sewell, Callum Maxwell, Izzy Carter, Travis Shaw, Ben Byrne, Ollie Sims, Brandon Keane did not take up the restart. But let's now reflect on that battle for third place. What a fight it was, how dramatic. They had an incident, both went down, and then after they got up, they swapped places at the very next corner.
it was complete craziness into turn at number 8. It looked like Fitchett might have either hit the bump or maybe the curb as he typed into the turn at number 8 hairpin. There's a bit of a kink, a left-hand kink, so you've got to go over to the left ever so slightly, then flick it back for the right-hander, and it was a bit of a moment there. Both got up, both kept third and fourth, and they both managed to finish the race in that position as well. But we're going to keep it with the mini motos, and this time out it's the senior mini motos. And as they make the way towards the starting grid, on pole position is your champion of 2019, the Zero of Bernie Hook. In second spots, you've got Matt Birkin, very fast in the wet conditions yesterday, and he'll be even faster today in the dry. Josh Birkin in third spot on row number 2. On bike number 4, next to him is the number 21 of Adam Ambrose. Simon Huntingford on bike number 47 on row number 3 and 5th. Mark Payne in 6th spot on bike number 18. Nick Bennett, who blew up an engine so far this weekend, on bike 711, will be on the 4th row on the grid in 7th position. Next to him is Aston Dean on bike 137, and then you've got Craig Ashall on row number 5 in 9th spot, trialling out a new engine this weekend that will hopefully give him some more horsepower down the field. And then we've got Mitch Holmesby on 888 machine in 10th, and I've got Ricky Goosey on bike number 36 in 11th.
Thank you very much, Liam. Bikes ready, riders ready, grid is set.
I believe they're doing a reverse grid here. I believe this is a reverse grid. Chris, sorry to jump in there.
Yes, it is. You're right. Good spot. So this is a reverse grid. So Rick Goosey is going to go off pole position. I guess this is just something they wanted to do as it's the last round. Bernie Hook giving it big guns at the back there. Well, this is going to make things interesting. So Goosey's going to be on the front row with Hollingsby. Then it will be Ashall and Dean, Bennett and Payne, Huntingford and Ambrose, Birkin and Birkin, Josh ahead of Matt. Bernie Hook going off the back of the grid. Why not? Everyone's confused on the grid except the riders themselves. Green flag is about to fly. Race 1, senior mini motos at the final round is go now. Green flag wave, and it's going to be Rick Goosey who's going to lead him into turn 1, or is he? I think that was Mitch Hollingsby or Aston Dean perhaps coming down the inside. I believe it was Aston Dean who took the lead and has already got a bit of a gap as they make their way through turn number 2 up to 3 and 4 for the first time. A leader escaping in who I believe is Aston Dean, and we've got the likes of Josh Birkin, Matt Birkin, Bernie Hook trying to make positions. Bernie Hook in the blue and orange leathers there, just trying to make some positions up, and he's doing that very, very quickly. And a faller. We've got a rider down.
Josh Birkin, I believe.
And it is Josh Birkin, we believe, who has gone down very quickly back up. So the task that he already made difficult for himself has now become even harder, but still time to do it. 9 laps in this one, 8 to go as they cross the line for the first time. Your full order is Aston Dean. He's got a gap of almost 1 second to Adam Ambrose. Then it's Craig Ashall in 3rd, Nick Bennett in 4th. Matt Birkin is already up to 5th place. Then it is Huntingford, Hook, Payne, Goosey has dropped to 9th place from pole. Then it's Hollingsby and Josh Birkin at the back of the field.
Well, there's nothing like leading a race to get your lap times down. Aston Dean is looking incredible out front at the moment, and we've got Adam Ambrose, Craig Ashall just behind him, slowly catching the 137 rider of Aston Dean, the youngest rider in the field, and leading the way very, very nicely indeed. Matt Birkin making some moves further down the order, trying to make a move on the 711 of Nick Bennett, and towards turn number 8, pushes him wide. He's made it stick, but runs a little bit wide indeed. And then here comes our champion. It's going to be Bernie Hook powering past both of them and towards the final corner. Matt Birkin round the outside of Nick Bennett. All three of those side by side, 3 abreast into turn number 1. Who will be later in the breaks? It'll be Matt Birkin. Over the bump he goes, pushes himself into 4th position and head down, pounding down towards turn number 2, and that's not over for Bernie Hook just yet. On the TiVo bike, he's looking towards turn number 4 to try and make a move again, and in 6th spot is Simon Huntingford on the 47, all over the back of Nick Bennett. But great racing there from your champion and your vice champion in 2019. So Nick Bennett was in 3rd spot, he's now dropped back down to 5th. Matt Burke and Bernie Hook in 3rd and 4th are trying to catch your leaders of Adam Ambrose and Aston Dean. Aston Dean still leading the way from Ambrose.
Yeah, good battle going on there between Matt Birkin, as you said, just ahead of Bernie Hook at the moment. Aston Dean still in the lead, but he's very quickly being caught here from Adam Ambrose, who's now closed the gap to 3/10. Then we've got Matt Birkin there in the blue and orange leathers, just ahead of Bernie Hook as they come through turn number 2, up to 3 and 4. The lead quartet all together, they are split by 1.7 seconds in total. Now, who is that? That is
Simon Huntingford. It was
good
47.
Spot. Yes, so Simon Huntingford down. We have Bernie Hook there on the red bike, just trying to get past Matt Birkin. Will look to the outside. They're actually just coming up towards the penultimate corner at the moment. The top 4 bikes all together as they now tip their way out of turn number 8. So they'll now make their way down towards turn number 9. Who is going to be leading this one when we cross the line next time? Across the line we go. 5 to go it is as they cross the line, make that 6, and there goes a lunge down the inside from Matt Birkin, and Matt Birkin is going to take the race lead. So Matt Birkin into the lead. Aston Dean will drop to 2nd.
I've not seen a move like that since Tony Ellis in MotoGP at Estoril in 2006. Matt Birkin late on the brakes, up the inside, passing 2 riders into turn number 1. Bernie Hook is now into 2nd, so the championship leader, or champion now, and vice champion are 1st and 2nd, but in reverse order, and they will be looking to continue the scrap. Matt Birkin looking over his shoulder to see where Bernie Hook is, knows that Bernie Hook is right behind him now. Aston Dean, who was leading most of this race, has now dropped back into 3rd, but he's still got Adam Ambrose behind him. So Aston Dean putting in a great ride right now, as well as Adam Ambrose, but pounding down the home straight, over the bump they go, getting some air underneath those tyres into turn number 1. Both very late on the brakes, have been able to pull a couple of bike lengths. And will Bernie Hook make a move into turn number 2? No, he won't. That would have been very brave and incredible if he had done that, but very quick through turn number 3 into turn number 4. A bit of a bobble from Matt Birkin as he went over the bump, pushes him a little bit wide, goes defensive into turn number 5, the left-handed hairpin. Bernie Hook trying to take sweeping wide lines to try and get a good run out of these hairpins, while Matt Birkin takes it very defensively for the time being. There's only 4.5 laps remaining, and you can just tell that these two will be having a great scrap out there as Matt Birkin looks over his shoulder to see that Bernie Hook is still all over the back, his rear wheel, and Bernie Hook trying to grab onto the back of him to try to get a bit of a toe through the final corner. So not sure if he could catch him. Got to go a bit faster than that to get a toe behind the orange and blue rider of Matt Birkin.
Well, this is what it is all about, isn't it? FAB-Racing in the senior mini motors. It's about enjoying it. It's good fun for these guys. They love their racing at the weekends, and they are putting on a very good show for us. Now, it looks as if Bernie Hook is dropping back. Whether that's a problem or intentional, I'm not too sure, but he is dropping back from Matt Birkin. Matt Birkin has now extended a healthy advantage. Bernie Hook has actually dropped behind Adam Ambrose there. So Ambrose goes up to 3rd. Not too sure what's going on here. There will be just 3 to go when they cross the line next time, and they will be doing that very shortly as they make their way round turn number 9. It seems as if Bernie Hook, I think, was challenging himself here to see if he can now catch Matt Birkin up. Why not? 3 laps, 6/10 advantage. So clearly 2/10 a lap is the goal, and I tell you, he's absolutely flying, Liam. He's already half that gap at least. In fact, he's now brought it down to virtually nothing as they come through turn number 5 and up to 6, and there he goes. Bernie Hook is going to put one down the inside at turn 6, and he's going to get past Matt Birkin. Matt Birkin now under pressure from Ambrose, who is probably scratching his head as what is exactly going on ahead of him. Now through the penultimate corner they will come. Now round the last corner, there'll be just 2 to go, Liam. and this one far from over.
Oh, anything to play for in the senior mini motos race number 1. They're all pushing to the absolute limit out there on the Tattershall race course. Your champion Bernie Hook ahead of Matt Birkin. These two have been the class of the field for most of the season, and with a lap and a half remaining, Bernie Hook still holds a slight advantage over Matt Birkin. Just behind them we have a great scrap for third position between Adam Ambrose and the 137 of Aston Dean, who led most of this race. Just behind them and fifth is Nick Bennett ahead of Mark Payne in sixth, Craig Ashall in seventh, Simon Huntingford on the 47 bike who's remounted after an earlier fall at turn number 1 is in 8th ahead of Ricky Goosey, Mitch Hollingsby running at the top 10, and Josh Birkin, not sure what happened to Josh Birkin, but he's dropped all the way down to 11th. But your race leaders come around the final corner, across start finish line to start the final lap of the race. Matt Birkin looking up the inside, late on the brakes, has to set your champion of Hook up into turn number 1. Bernie Hook looking up the inside in turn number 2. Will he make it stick? Yes, he does. A flat out left-hander. Matt Birkin round the inside and back up into lead into turn number 3. So anything you can do, I could do better, says Matt Birkin. A few more corners to go to make the way in towards the infield section of the track. Matt Birkin's opened up a bit of an advantage, a couple of bike lengths in it now as they make their way up towards turn number 6, down towards turn number 7, the left-handed hairpin. That'll be the last left-hander before the last lap. Matt Birkin sits up and looks over his shoulder to see how much of a bike length or how much of a gap he has over Bernie Hook. But one more corner to go, coming across start finish line, final corner, the checkered flag waves. Matt Birkin takes the race win ahead of your champion Bernie Hook. Adam Ambrose on bike number 21 rounds out the podium position. Aston Dean just misses out on a maiden podium position in the senior mini moto, but once again a valiant ride into 4th spot. Across the line in 5th is Nick Bennett, then Simon Huntingford. Simon Huntingford gained 2 positions on the final lap from 8th up towards 7th ahead of Craig Ashall. A few more riders coming across the start finish line, and in the next few moments we're waiting for Mark Payne, Ricky Goosey, Josh Birkin and Mitch Hollingsby. Through the final corner comes Josh Birkin to score 9th spot, and as he nearly flies himself off of his bike as he puts his leg up to say yes, a 9th spot will do me nicely. And then a wave of the fist from Ricky Goosey on bike number 36, who started on pole position, incidentally dropping towards the final or the back of the field in the final moments. And then across the start finish line comes Mitch Hollingsby in 10th spot. So Chris, got to talk about the race. Matt Birkin, Bernie Hook once again giving it their all as they were late on the brakes or trying to outbrake each other on the final lap of the race.
It was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great fun indeed.
Yeah, they decided to change the grid themselves.
I think
I don't know how often that happens,
I think we should do that every race so far after the rest of.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that in both races tomorrow as well. It was great fun. We had the likes of Bernie Hook dropping back to then see if he could catch Matt Birkin back up. It was all just a bit of a laugh, really, wasn't it? It was fantastic racing, and that's the reason they did what they did. They wanted to put on the show. They did that very, very well, and fair play to the guys. Fantastic stuff for them. A lot of people up on the bank in there were watching that one, all giving a round of applause as the riders pass. That one thoroughly entertaining. We may have the championship decided in that one, but 2 races tomorrow are going to be very, very exciting.
They are indeed, and especially with the weather coming in, which we believe it will. The very wet typhoon conditions taking it from Japan. We're just going, we want some of that wet weather. It's all
you're not going to put in a lawsuit, are you?
No, not at all. We're used to the rain. We're used to it. So, but tomorrow could be all different. Matt Birkin is very quick in the wet conditions, so there'll be another potential race win between himself and maybe Bernie Hook will push him all the way. But we've got the 3 wheelers out on track now, making their way round to the grid. It's the mini F1 sidecars, and here's Chris McCarthy to take you through the grid.
Well, Mick Williams is going to start on pole position. If he wins this race, he will be confirmed as the 2019 champion. It's as simple as that. However, just 1.5 tenths back from Mick Williams is Jack Qualters, Jack Walters has been his nearest challenger so far. 46 points back is Jack Walters. Spoke to both of them earlier, and they've just talked about how fantastic the racing has been. Paul Qualters Jr. is going to be on row number 2 with Mick Lee. Mark Parker and Adrian Ems are going to be on row number 3. Row number 4 will be John Hosker and Tammy Sellers. Sidecars getting into position. This is race number 1 for them at round number 8. They have been fantastic to watch, particularly in recent rounds. Let's see if that trend continues. I'll now hand over to Liam Hodgins, who's going to get the race underway for us.
Your pole setter, Mick Williams, can wrap up the championship in this race. The man alongside him, Jack Walters, is the only one that can stop him on the number 2 machine. Can it be wrapped up today, or will it roll into tomorrow? Well, hopefully stick with us throughout the rest of the day and see some fantastic racing. And for the rest of the day, we'll be starting off with the Mini F1 Sidecars Championship. As Chris alluded to, we've seen some fantastic racing all season long. Some of the best racing in the series has come from this class, as the series Organiser Roger picks up the green flag. He will be starting the riders off for the first of 3 races here this weekend in Tattershall. The revs are rising. The riders look towards the green flag, and away they go. And great start on row number 2 from Jack Walters Jr., but not good enough. They can make a move, and a bad bumping and boning into turn number 1 from riders further down the field. That's Mick Lee and Adrian Ems on the 76 and 44 bikes respectively. But it's your championship leader and your reigning champion, Mick Williams, who leads the way, but coming under increasing pressure from both of the Qualters. That is Jack Walters on number 2 and Paul Qualters Jr. on the number 24 machine. They've already broken clear of the rest of the pack as they make their way through the infield section of this Tattershall racecourse up towards turn number 8 they go. The left kink before they go in towards the right hand is hairpin. There's a bit of a bump in the middle which unsettles the machine, but nothing too much for these sidecars. But what we have seen as they come across the start finish line for the first time, with Mick Williams in the lead and Jack Walters 8 tenths further back in second, Paul Qualters Jr. in third, Mick Lee 4th, Mark Parker 5th, Adrian Ems in 6th, John Hosker 7th, 8th is Paul Qualters Sr. in 8th spot, and then Tammy Sellers, who's actually got ahead of Paul Qualters Sr. Tammy Sellers will be in 8th spot. I was about to say, what we have seen so far this season is Mick Williams is very quick in the opening laps, but as the race goes on, we see Jack Walters slowly bring that gap back down, and then we get an epic last lap towards the end of the race.
Yes, of course, we do have Paul Qualters Sr. out there. Apologies for not reading him out on the grid, but Mick Williams leading the way at the moment. As it stands, he will wrap up the championship today by 1 point. He'll be 51 points ahead, and as you can see there on screen, Mick Williams and Qualters second, then it'll be Paul Qualters Jr. third and Parker in 4th place. But the race has very quickly settled down. 5 laps remaining. Mick Williams leading by just over a second from Jack Walters. Paul Qualters Jr. Third, Mick Lee in 4th place, Mark Parker in 5th place, Adrian Ems in 6th. Then it is Hosker, Sellers and Paul Qualters Sr. Looks like Jack Walters and Paul Qualters Jr. just trying to close in on Mick Williams here, but Mick Williams setting a very fast pace in these early stages, and it's just allowed him to extend his gap by over a second, and that could be even higher when he crosses the line next time.
I would like to keep an eye on this gap. It's coming across start finish line now. It is 1.4 seconds. Now it's not going up as quick anymore, but it's gone up indeed. And the new fastest lap of the race, a 51.270 from the number 26, Mick Williams. Jack Walters, he's got 3.5 laps remaining to do something about your champion. A bit of a slide in the infield section of the track from your championship leader, Mick Williams, but it doesn't seem to be affected him too bad for the time being. Paul Qualters Jr. still in the running to try and nick maybe a top 2 position, but he's a few bike lengths further back from his brother Jack Walters and Mick Williams. So as we make the way around the rest of the track. Mick Lee is in 4th ahead of Mark Parker. Adrian Ems is in 6th, and then John Hosker in 7th ahead of the 11 of Tammy Sellers. Tammy Sellers has come on leaps and bounds since she made her debut in the class back at Wilton Mill. Round number 6, so this is only her 3rd round of the season, and with every single race she's been building in confidence and building in competitiveness every time. So the riders make their way through the final corner. The battle for 6th spot, that is Adrian Ems and John Hosker. It's not the battle for the front. We're always going to keep an eye on the battle further back as well. It's always good to keep an eye on, because all these riders are giving their absolute all throughout the entire field. But as it stands for the moment, Mick Williams will be your champion, with a gap going into the final 2 races tomorrow of 51 points. 50 points is the maximum points we can get in races 2 and 3 tomorrow, so 51 points is all Mick Williams needs to wrap up the championship in 2019.
When you look at those standings and you see Paul Coulters Jr. 283 points compared to the 441 of Jack Coulters, it just shows in terms of the championship, it's not always been that in the races, but in terms of the championship, it really has been a 2-horse race, and Williams and Coulters have been very, very close. Right, going through the final corner, the 127 of John Hosker is getting very close to Adrian Ems on the number 76. And indeed, Adrian Ems now beginning to defend, and Hosker just having a peek to the inside, but it was nothing more than that at the moment. We are into the final 2 laps of this race, and Mick Williams is about to start the final lap. He is just coming round the final corner now. Across the line he goes, and that is 1 lap to go now. Jack Walters is 2nd place, Paul Coulters Jr. In 3rd place, Mick Lee is in 4th place, then it is Mark Parker in 5th, Adrian Ems is 6th place, John Hosker is 7th, Tammy Sellers 8th, and Paul Coulters Sr. is 9th place. But John Hosker just not able to get past Adrian Ems at the moment. But here is Mick Williams. He's had a easier ride in this one than he's had in recent rounds. There's going to be close races throughout this weekend, but that looked like a dive down the inside. John Hosker, I believe, was able to get past Adrian Ems there, but this is going to be another win for Mick Williams, and this is going to be him crowning himself as the 2019 champion as he comes across the line. That is the checkered flag, and Mick Williams is your 2019 champion in the sidecars. What a fantastic season it has been, and Mick Williams has taken the checkered flag. Jack Coulters has finished 2nd. They're going round once more, so perhaps we were on the final lap now. Let's talk about Mick Williams then as he makes his way round. So round the final corner, Mick Williams has had a fantastic season. He's crowned himself the champion now. Jack Coulters 2nd, Paul Coulters Jr. 3rd, Mick Lee 4th, Mark Parker 5th. But he's going to take the checkered flag one more time, officially as now the champion. There comes Mick Williams. It's been a fantastic season, and he is the 2019 champion in the sidecars. Fantastic stuff. Wraps it up in the first race of the weekend. Now he can go and have some fun tomorrow. Jack Coulters 2nd place, as he is in the championship as well, and there is no way he will lose that 2nd place. So Jack Coulters, knowing the championship is wrapped up now, can just go out tomorrow without the pressure and try and get some wins. Paul Coulters Jr. rounds out your top 3. Then it's Mick Lee, Mark Parker, Adrian Ems, John Hosker, Tammy Sellers, and Paul Coulters Sr. I don't think finished the race, but classified 9th place.
Well, Mick Williams has had an incredible 2019 season. He's come under a bit more pressure this year than he's been used to over the recent years, but nonetheless, the cream always rises to the top. So 492 points for Mick Williams. That is 51 points clear of 2nd place Jack Coulters on 444. There's 50 more points to play for tomorrow in races 2 and 3. So with a 51 point advantage in the championship, Jack Coulters will not be able to catch your champion of 2019, Mick Williams. So this is the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship on the road to MotoGP. We are the official partner series to the British Superbikes Championship. And with 4 races down, there's still 5 more to go. But before we move on to the LC40 Elite, which are out next, just, Chris, give us a quick recap of the season that Mick Williams has had.
Well, look, Mick Williams, he's had a fantastic season. He's kept a clean pair of heels throughout, and he's taken advantage when Jack Walters has hit problems. That's why he's champion with 2 races to go.
So the LC40 Elite make the way around the green flag lap, and this is how their grid positions are looking. Mason Foster will be starting on pole position from your champion, Johnny Garness. These two have been embroiled in an epic scrap all season long. Josh Bannister on bike number 2 will be starting from 3rd, ahead of Samuel Munson on the outside of row number 2. And then in 3rd spot, and 5th spot on row number 3 will be Clayton Edmonds on the 146. Then Ronnie Harris will be next up in 6th spot on the 66 bike. Charlie Huntingford on bike number 76 will be in 7th on row number 4, ahead of the 100 of Cameron Sewell. In 9th spot, it'll be Warwick Brady on the 99 bike, and then in 10th is Greg Marshall. And rounding out the runners and riders for the start of your LC40 Elite, it'll be Keaton Payne on row number 6.
Thank you very much, Liam. Well, there we have it. Mason Foster, Garness, the already crowned champion, on row number 1. They are getting ready to go to battle once again. 3 races left in this season. This the first of 3 for this weekend, as we have for each class. LC40 Elites lining up on the grids. We are almost ready to go racing. Final preparations being done. Most of the mechanics seem happy. Riders revving the engines, getting ready to go. That looks like we are happy on the grid. So we wait for the green flag to be waved, and when it does, we will be racing for the first time this weekend in Junior LC40 Elite. Who's going to make it down to turn number 1 first? Will it be Foster? Will it be Garness? Will it be either of them? Let's find out. Green flag flies, and it looks like Garness got the much better of the starts there, and he goes in to the lead. Mason Foster drops to 2nd place. Josh Bannister had a good start as well and slots into 3rd as they now head round turns 3 and 4. The leaders all nicely bunched together in the early stages of this race as they come through turn number 5. Despite a brilliant start, Garness hasn't been able to build up a lead as of yet, but still has time to do that. It's the first of 9 laps as they now make their way up towards turn number 8 for the first time, and the 2 leaders threatening to break away here. Garness and Foster just beginning to eke away from the rest of the field as they now make their way round the final corner. Flat out it is, down towards turn number 1. It is Garness, Foster, Samuel Munson is up to 3rd, then it is Clayton Edmonds in 4th place. Josh Bannister is 5th place, then it is Ronnie Harris, Huntingford, Cameron Sewell, Brady, Marshall and Payne.
A cracking start from Clayton Edmonds. Got a great jump off the 3rd row of the grid. He's now in 4th spot. Josh Bannister from 3rd in the grid has dropped down to 5th, but he's already trying to make a move back up the inside or around the outside, in actual fact, of Clayton Edmonds. It's a very technical section of the track here at Tattershall, from left to right to left again, and then once again you go right, and then you're powering your way up towards turn number 8. Hairpin. Mason Foster trying valiantly to cling on to the back of your champion, Johnny Garness, but we know that Mason Foster has an insane amount of speed around this Tattershall track. There might be a move for 3rd going on here. Mason Foster and Samuel Munson, apologies, up the inside of, well, Clayton Edmonds up the inside of Samuel Munson. These two were battling out in the pro class earlier on today, and they're continuing that scrap in the elites. But they've got Josh Bannister on the number 2 machine all over the back of them, so if they scrap too much, then Josh Bannister could find a way past the pair. So with 7.5 laps remaining, Johnny Garness still leads the way. Fastest lap of the race last time round with a 48.465, 7/10 of a second ahead of Mason Foster, who is 2.6 seconds ahead of this scrap of Munson, Edmonds and Bannister. Ronnie Harris is trying to tag onto the back of this battle for 3rd. And 6th ahead of Charlie Huntingford, Cameron Sewell, Warwick Brady in 9th, Greg Marshall in 10th, and then Keaton Payne rounding out the runners and riders. Down the start finish line once again, late on the brace from Clayton Edmonds, up the inside in turn number 1, but sweeping round the outside, Samuel Munson keeps a hold of that 3rd position for the time being, but these two have really got some strength and other weaknesses around certain parts of the track. Chris.
Yeah, well, Samuel Munson saying to Clayton Edmonds there, you're going to have to work a little bit harder than that to get past me. It was a definite attempt from Clayton Edmonds, but Samuel Munson showing good confidence there to just hold his nerve around the outside. And for now, he stays in third place. The two leaders are away and clear. Mason Foster in second set the faster of the laps last time round and the fastest lap of all, but Johnny Garness responds with the fastest lap this time to extend his lead to 1 second. But a close battle for third going on. Leading it is Samuel Munson in the 72. Edmonds behind in fourth place. Then in fifth place is Josh Bannister on the number 2 as they head up towards turn number 3. Ever so slightly defensive lines being taken, it seems, by Samuel Munson. He hangs on to third at the moment, but it looks like Clayton Edmonds is starting to get a little bit impatient here. He's, of course, under pressure himself, but struggling to get by Samuel Munson, who has yet to make a mistake in third place. Not saying he will, but under this pressure, he's doing a good job not to make any, and at the moment, he stays in third.
Not only is Samuel Munson fighting to keep his third position in the race, but he's also fighting to keep his third position in the championship. Clayton Edmonds alongside him into turn number 1 to go later on the brakes, but Samuel Munson is an absolute demon into turn number 1. Josh Bannister is patiently sitting there waiting for his chance to make a move on these two riders. Will he make a move into turn number 3, or will he get the switch back into 4? He's going for it. He looked up the inside, but there wasn't enough space there for the number 2 of Josh Bannister to pull up alongside the 146 of Edmonds and pass. So Samuel Munson sits third in the championship. He's only 22 points ahead of Ronnie Harris, who's 6th in this race, so he will be extending his lead in third in the championship and making it a bit more comfortable. But he's got the piranhas right behind him of Edmonds and Bannister. These two will be scrapping as they like to try and pass the number 72 with only 5 laps remaining. Across start finish line to come, a lot of top speed from the 146 of Clayton Edmonds. Late in the brakes, Josh Bannister looked up the inside into turn number 1 on Clayton Edmonds. Chris, I don't believe this will be the order come the finish.
Well, there's a good chance it won't. Just to bring you up to speed with what's going on behind the battle for third, Ronnie Harris is 6th, Charlie Huntingford 7th, then it is Cameron Saul, Warwick Brady, Greg Marshall and Keaton Payne. No real close battles going on. The closest battle is the battle for third place. Samuel Munson leading that one, leading the trio, fighting for it. Edmonds is in 4th place. Bannister is in 5th place. They're now heading up towards turn number 8. Out front, Garness has set another new fastest lap. In fact, he holds the he set the new fastest lap on the last lap, and he's extended his lead to 1.7 seconds over Mason Foster. Now charging down towards turn number 1. Is this a dive up the inside from Edmonds? It isn't. Edmonds was having another look, just breaking down the middle of the circuit there to try and put the pressure on Samuel Munson even further. Coming through turn 4 they are now, and I think this the closest they have been as they hit the brakes into 5. And got to say, Munson doing a very good job. We are now only 2.5 laps away from seeing the checkered flag, and Munson still continuing to hold his nerve in the front of the trio, fighting for third place.
Got nerves of steel to Samuel Munson holding off Edmonds and Bannister, but there's a couple more laps remaining. Your champion of 2019, Johnny Garness on bike number 57, is still leading the way, but there is a change for third spot coming across our finish line. Edmonds was in third position, but Munson is already trying to snap back into third spot, but not making it stick. Just having a look out of our commentary box window, but Johnny Garness has been the absolute class of the field in 2019, holds a 2.1 second advantage over Mason Foster as a champion in the pros, and second place in the LC40 Elite. Clayton Edmonds is now in third, Samuel Munson in fourth, Josh Bannister in fifth spot for the time being. But as they come across our finish line to start the final lap of the race, it's Johnny Garness still leading the way. Another cracking lap time from the 57 to 48.2, still faster than anyone else on the circuit. That was a 10th faster than Mason Foster last time round, but as their move for 4th position into turn number 1. Bannister looking up the inside of Munson, not making it stick. So for the moment it's still Edmonds from Munson from Bannister. That is your 3rd, 4th and 5th positions at the moment, but it might not stick like that for the rest of this final lap. Just run through the order further down. Harrison 6th, then we've got Charlie Huntingford 7th, Cameron Sill in 8th, Warwick Brady in 9th, Keaton Payne in 10th, and Greg Marshall is in 11th position. 2 more corners to go for Johnny Garness, your race leader and your 2019 champion. Powers towards the final corner, sees the checkered flag, rounds it and waves his fist in the air as he picks up race 1 win. Mason Foster in 2nd, and who will it be in 3rd? Coming through the final corner, will it be Edmonds, Munson or Bannister? They come across the line, and now it's going to be Clayton Edmonds, who shakes his fist in the air, can't quite believe it, picks up a podium position. Samuel Munson shakes his hand, not sure if that was in delight or a bit of disgust at losing it on a podium. Josh Bannister in 5th. Clayton Edmonds holds out his hand there to try and shake Munson's hand, but Munson having none of it on the slowdown lap. Ronnie Harris came across the line in 6th, and then Charlie Huntingford is 7th. Cameron Sill in 8th on Big 100, and then we've got Keaton Payne in 10th, Greg Marshall in 11th, and Warwick Brady waiting for him to cross the line in 9th. Comes across the line now, so Warwick Brady rounds out the top 9 ahead of Keaton Payne and Greg Marshall. But Chris McCarthy, it was another race that Johnny Garness just proved his absolute prowess in the LC40 Elite category.
Yeah, it's why he's champion already. We must talk about Garness, because he's not just had a good season here, he's been fantastic everywhere he's gone, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed, he's not only winning championships in LC40 Elites, but he's also getting podium positions in the Mini GP70s, where we will see him a little bit later on today. But he's also been racing around the world as well. So you spoke to him a little bit earlier on, and he's been showing how it's done, basically. Yeah,
well, he was out in Adria last week racing in the World Championships, the Oval World Championships, I believe it is. Don't hold me to that. But he finished 3rd. He would have been champion if the checkered flag waved going on to the last lap, but finished 3rd. Did our country very proud. And Johnny Garness, a podium finisher in the World Championships, racing against drivers much more experienced than him on those circuits, riders from all around the world. And Garness did a fantastic job there to beat riders from everywhere around the world, and over here he's already champion in this class. Well, Liam, talk us through the grid as pit bikes 140s and motor teams come out onto the track.
Well, it's a big one for this, but the starting grid looks like this. Richard Holmes Williams takes pole position ahead of your champion Jamie King. Bernie Hook in 3rd ahead of Ian Jackson 4th. Row number 3 is Simon Clowes in 5th ahead of Jason Pugh. Darren Anderson in 7th spot ahead of Fraser Kinnaird, rounding out the outside of row number 4. Jack Andrews in 9th, Greg Pym in 10th spot, and then in 11th is Alistair Kinnaird ahead of Kevin Gritton. Daniel Gilbert in 13th, Daniel Lee in 14th spot, and then ahead of Roger Monks, Vince Bailey in 16th, Adam Sweeney in 17th, Iona Glover in 18th spot, and then rounding out the runners and riders for the start of the Pit Big 140 and the motor team race is at the bottom of the time sheet. That will be Charlie Ems.
Thank you very much, Liam. Right, let's get ready to go racing in the Pit Bike 140 and Moto team. First race, they are lining up on the grid. It's going to be Holmes, Williams and King on the front row. Hook and Jackson, Clowes and Pugh, Anderson, Kinnaird, Andrews and Pym, the top 10. Then we have Alistair Kinnaird, Gritton, Gilbert, Lee, Monks, Bailey, Sweeney, Glover, Ems. That is how they line up. It's a pretty busy grid down there. 19 riders on it in total. And we will get ready to go racing very, very shortly.
So as the riders are making their way, as the riders sit there on the grid, the number 83, you might be wondering who that is. That's the number 76 usually of Jamie King, but he's had to replace his bike for this weekend after a bit of an issue. So he's managed to get a bike together and he's ready to start this Pit Big 140 race number 1.
Good stuff. Well, that is the... I don't know what's going on towards the back there, but grid is set, Liam. So I guess we will hand over to you for the race start.
Yeah, so the revs will be rising. The green flag will be set any second now. Our Cool Fab Racing organiser, Roger, is making his way over to find the green flag, and he found it So we will be getting underway any second now. Just checking the flag, looks pretty good. It looks in good condition, Roger, absolutely. But the green flag is up, the Revs are rising, and away they go. Great start from Richard Holmes-Williams from pole position. Jamie King from second has to set up not to clobber the back of Richard Holmes-Williams. Bernie Hook makes his way in towards second ahead of Jamie King. A bit of bumping and boarding further back down the field, but everyone seems safely through the first few corners for the time being. But it's Holmes-Williams ahead of Hook, ahead of your champion in the Pit Big 140 class of Jamie King. In fourth spot, that seems to be the number 7 of Ian Jackson. Ian Jackson is making his way up the order from further down the field, but the first of the Moto Team bikes is Jason Pugh, so he's made his way past your champion in the class, Simon Clouse. So Jason Pugh on the number 8 machine in 5th position in the race, and 1st position in the Moto Team race for the time being. But completing lap number 1, it is Holmes-Williams ahead of the Hook, Jamie King in 3rd spot ahead of Ian Jackson in 4th. Then we've got Jason Pugh ahead of the other Moto Team rider of Simon Clouse. Fraser Kinnaird in 7th ahead of Darren Anderson, Jack Andrews in 9th, Greg Pym in 10th, Alistair Kinnaird in 11th, Daniel Lee in 12th, Daniel Gilbert next up in 13th, unlucky for some, but not for Daniel Gilbert. Vince Bailey in 14th, Kevin Gritton running at top 15, and just outside the points is Roger Monks, Adam Sweeney, Iona Glover and Charlie Eames.
Thank you, Liam. Well, Holmes-Williams, gap out front for him, changed for second. Hook has gone past King, so Bernie Hook moving up the field nicely. Ian Jackson with those aforementioned pair in 4th place, though very hot on their tail. Then it is Pugh in 5th place as we make our way across the line, and King fighting back, looks to the inside under braking and completes the move. So King has taken back 2nd place from Bernie Hook as they come through the left-hander. Right with them is still Ian Jackson. Then there is a 2.5 second gap back to Jason Pugh. Simon Clowes is 6th. Darren Anderson has just gone past Fraser Kinnaird for 8th. Jack Andrews is 9th. Greg Pym is 10th. Daniel Gilbert past Daniel Lee.
Oh, we've got Simon Clowes and Jason Pugh. Simon Clowes lost the front and Jason Pugh had nowhere to go, so Simon Clowes had just taken 5th spot and lost the front. Unfortunately, such a champion and your former race leader in the Moto Team category that have gone down at turn number 5, but thankfully both seem to be okay, but maybe their bikes won't be able to get restarted.
Well, we had 2 more riders delayed in that as well, actually, so unfortunately a couple more riders caught up, but the most important thing of all of that is everyone was up and attempted to get going again at least. I think 2 riders are unable to continue, the original 2 who went down. One of those gets going again, but yellow flags will be out there. The battle for second just coming past where that incident happened, and King is just ever so slightly pulling away from Bernie Hook here. We've got Ian Jackson still there in 4th place. I don't say that in surprise, I say it as in he is doing a fantastic job to hang with 2 of the top riders in this championship. Ian Jackson yet to make his impact, but is just being patient about his approach. Jack Andrews 5th, Greg Pym 6th, Darren Anderson 7th, Alistair Kinnaird is 8th, Daniel Gilbert 9th, Fraser Kinnaird is 10th place at the moment. Alistair Kinnaird on the number 5 machine goes up to 7th, past Greg Pym. Darren Anderson also on the move, up to 6th place, so not a good lap for Greg Pym, that last one. Daniel Lee past Fraser Kinnaird as well. Daniel Lee on the 44. The lower order of the top 10 are just making their way now into turn number 5. Fairly close together at the moment.
We've got another rider stopped out on circuit. Not too sure who that is, but it's one of the Pit Big 140 class riders, so we'll keep an eye on who that is. But obviously Jason Pugh is another rider out of the race. Simon Clowes has got going again, and I believe it's the number 17 of Adam Sweeney that's pulled out of the race, so shame for Adam Sweeney. But I was just looking at the battle for the Moto Team at race class victory, and Greg Pym seemed to be the big winner of that incident between Simon Clowes and Jason Pugh, as Alistair Kinnaird got caught up in it as well, but Alistair Kinnaird is now leading that category, so we will see Jason Pugh and Adam Sweeney on the edge of the circuit out of the race. But got a bit of a moment there for one of the other Moto Team bikes. That is the number 5 of Alistair Kinnaird. So Alistair Kinnaird, not sure what happened there. We just saw him running off the circuit, but that has made him drop behind the 260 of Greg Pym. So he's back into second place in the Moto Team class and down in towards 8th spot in the overall race standing. So with 6.5 laps remaining, we've got Richard Holmes Williams with an 8.6 second advantage. The fastest lap of the race is 1.3 seconds faster than anyone else in this race. So Richard Holmes Williams showing his prowess in this category for the time being, ahead of your series champion, the number 83 of Jamie King. Bernie Hook is 1.1 seconds further back from Jamie King, so Jamie King is opening up a bit of an advantage, but Bernie Hook has to look over his shoulder because he's still got Ian Jackson all over the back of him, looking for a way past the zero rider of Bernie Hook. Jack Andrews is a couple of seconds further back
Sorry to cut over you there, but someone was off again. I believe that was Kinnaird, so I wonder if he's carrying a problem. Kinnaird on the number 5, off again, and probably has dropped out of the top 10 with that, I'd say. In fact, he has got 10th place now, right behind him in Daniel Lee. And then it is Fraser Kinnaird, Simon Clowes, and Kevin Britton, not a million miles away from that either. So Richard Holmes Williams with almost 10-second advantage now. Bernie Hook, 3rd place, under all sorts of pressure from Ian Jackson. And then we've got Jack Andrews, Darren Anderson out of the top 10. Klaus has got past Kinnaird, has a very congested part of the field, the battle from 9th downwards. It's just coming over the line. 5 to go it is now. Richard Holmes Williams is already halfway through his 8th lap in this race, with Jamie King yet to cross the line to complete lap number 7. So it's spread out at the front, but the battle for 3rd is still very intense, and the 3rd and 4th place riders now coming through the first hairpin into the left-hander at turn number 2. Ian Jackson seems to have dropped back ever so slightly, but Bernie Hook, he is closing back on Bernie Hook. So we've still got a battle developing there. Bernie Hook on the number 0 bike, Ian Jackson on the 7. Our leader Richard Holmes Williams on the 126, away and clear from this, just coming up to the line, I believe, now to complete another lap, and indeed he goes across the line. Richard Holmes Williams, King on the 83, some 10 seconds behind that, Liam. Only 4 to go now though. It's gone by very quickly, this one.
Very fast race indeed, very quick. I'll be keeping an eye on the battle for Moto Team race honours, and Simon Clowes, who, remember, fell off earlier in this race to take out Jason Pugh in first and second in the class, is now sitting second in the category, only 4 seconds behind Greg Pym. So Simon Clowes, after he's remounted, has come through the field and is already trying to catch the number 260 of Greg Pym, with only 3 laps remaining, and the gap as he come across the start finish line now is now 2.6 seconds. So Simon Clowes has every chance to still win the Moto Team race from Greg Pym. So great recovery ride from your series champion in the Moto Team class, Simon Clowes. But back at the front, it's Richard Holmes Williams extending his advantage over the rest of the field. Jamie King 11.1 seconds further back in second. Bernie Hook in third, ahead of Ian Jackson in fourth, who's brought the gap back down over the last couple of laps. Ian Jackson, the gap is now down to half a second between third and fourth position. Jack Andrews is in fifth on big 114 with 2.5 laps remaining of this Pit Big 140 in Moto Team race, and Richard Holmes Williams, with such a big advantage, is already finding time for a couple of wheelies around about the circuit. So as he makes his way in towards the final corner, he will see that he only has 2 laps remaining as he comes across start finish line now, and with a big advantage of over 10 seconds over the rest of the field. Maybe he has a bit of time to just set up, take stock and relax ever so slightly.
Yeah, Richard Holmes Williams, fantastic from him. He has just been on absolute fire, but he seems to be pulled off the circuit. There is smoke coming out of the back of that bike, and Holmes Williams now looking down. Oh, what a disaster. Over 10 seconds clear, and Holmes Williams has pulled off the circuit. Jamie King goes past him, and Jamie King has inherited this race lead with only 1.5 laps remaining. Holmes Williams, what devastation for him. The rider on the 126 just pulled over there and gets going again. He seems to be coming back onto the circuit now. In fact, he's pulling over to a more safer place there. Holmes Williams is out of this. What a shame for Holmes Williams. Rotten luck for him. Undeserved. But King is going to take us on to the final lap of this race. It's very close for second, I have to say. Bernie Hook and Ian Jackson very close as well. They're only 3 seconds behind our leader. They're just coming through turn 3 now into turn 4, and they are very close together, but 3 seconds up the road is Jamie King. Well, it's not the way you want to go and take a race win, but you've got to make most of that luck when it comes your way. You've got to take what you can get, because often you are on the other side of that luck and you're in the position of Holmes Williams, who is off the circuit, and watching Jamie King, who is going to come round the final corner now, and it's not the way he wanted to do it, but King takes race number 1 victory here at the final round. Bernie Hook finishes second, Ian Jackson third. It means a lot to Jamie King, already celebrating, and Jamie King very, very pleased with that one. Taking his time getting back to the pitch, taking it all in. A brilliant win for Jamie King. Bernie Hook held on despite pressure from Ian Jackson. Jack Andrews will be fourth. The battle in the moto team is between the likes of Clowes and Greg Pym. All across the line now. Jack Andrews was fourth, Darren Anderson fifth, then it was Daniel Gilbert in sixth, but Simon Clowes takes the win in the moto team class, 1.4 seconds ahead of Greg Pym. Then it was Daniel Lee, Alistair Kinnaird, Fraser Kinnaird 11th, Kevin Gritton was 12th, Vince Bailey 13th, Roger Monks 14th, Richard Holmes Williams will be classified in 15th place, Iona Glover was 16th, Charlie Ems 17th. Our non-finishers were Jason Pugh and Adam Sweeney. In fact, Adam Sweeney, our non-finisher. Jason Pugh did eventually take the flag, but Jamie King wins 2.6 seconds ahead of Bernie Hook, Ian Jackson, and Ian Jackson in third. Liam, right place, right time for him. He was second to Holmes Williams. Holmes Williams hit problems, and that's where you got to be to go and inherit the win when the opportunity comes up.
Well, they say to finish first you have to finish.
Well,
and that's exactly what Jamie King done, but disaster there from Holmes Williams. Maybe he was just nursing the bike back towards the finish line, and I was too busy telling him that he was celebrating with only a couple of laps remaining.
Yes.
But maybe I was reading it all completely wrong, but fingers crossed Holmes Williams can get that bike sorted for races 2 and 3 tomorrow, because when you put in so much effort and you have such a big gap at the top of the field like he did, it's such a shame to see someone who's put in all that work to lose it with a technical issue. So shame there from the 126. But Jamie King, he must be thinking all of his Christmases have come at once again, because that's another race win that he's racked up in the Pit Bike 140 class, and a week that's been very tough for him because, as we alluded to before the start of the race, he lost his bike that he took to the championship. There was a bit of an issue with it, so he's had a team of people build him a new bike ahead of this weekend, and he's shown that no matter what bike you give him, he's just as fast.
That's indeed it. But 3 races to go for today. We have Mini GP50 next. Extreme 200 will be that, and then we'll end with Mini GP70. Of course, Mini GP50, it is very close indeed. Harrison Crosby is just 2 points away from Kyle Payne. It's just 2 points ahead of Kyle Payne, rather. Ryan Hitchcock, 23 points back from Harrison Crosby. Any one of those 3 could take the win. Likewise, Josh Bannister, 41 points back in 4th. Liam, let's get ready to talk through the grid.
Well, which way can this go? Four people in contention for the championship, and it's the man in 4th position in the championship that heads off the front row of the grid. That's Josh Bannister ahead of Ryan Hitchcock. Lucas Brown in 3rd position on row number 2 ahead of Kyle Payne. And then in 5th we have Harrison Crosby, and then Carter Brown in 6th On row number 4, it's going to be Harrison McKay on bike number 61, ahead of the 66 of Ronnie Harris on the outside of row 4. Then it's Ollie Horner next up in 9th, and rounding at the top 10 is Holly Harris on bike number 15. Ben Jolliffe is just missing out in the top 10. And then in 6th and 11th spot, and then 12th spot is Finnan Werity on the 1-1-2 machine. Luke Schofield is in 13th spot, unlucky for some, but not for Luke. And ahead of him, or ahead of Sullivan Mounsey in 14th spot. Cameron Sewell is next up in 15th, and then Jacob Stevenson in 16th spot. And on the last row of the grid is Aston Dean on the 1-3-7, ahead of Philippe Sorak on bike number 75 in 18th.
Well, the grid is set then. This, one of the closest championships we had. Harrison Crosby just 2 points ahead of Kyle Payne. Harrison Crosby will be 5th on the grid. Kyle Payne ahead in 4th place. Ryan Hitchcock, who is 3rd in the championship and 23 points back from Crosby, starts in 2nd. And Josh Bannister, he has a lot of work to do. He's 41 points back with 327 points in total. But he put himself on pole position for this one. So the guys in chase are on the front row. Your championship leader starts in 5th place. It couldn't be any more exciting. Here we go for the first race of the final weekend, where we are going to crown our mini GP50 champion at Tattershall. Who is it going to be? Green flag goes up and we are away. Josh Bannister leads us down towards turn number 1. It looks like Harrison Crosby trying to dive down the inside to take 3rd, but Josh Bannister has had a perfect start and he leads us through turn number 2. I think Lucas Brown got into 2nd place. I believe Harrison Crosby is in 3rd as they make their way now up towards turn number 5 for the first time. Everyone through nice and safely, which is great to see. Our championship leaders are still all going round, which is good. So the fight is on. Here we go. Josh Bannister, a little bit of a wobble out of turn number 7 there, and he's invited some pressure now as they come through turn 8. We begin the long run round turn number 9, flat out through there, and then the run down towards turn number 1. Will Josh Bannister still be leading by the time we get there? He is. Lucas Brown is 2nd. Hitchcock is in 3rd place. Carter Brown 4th. Our championship leader Crosby in 5th. Then it is Payne, Harris, McKay, Holly Harris and Ollie Horner.
Carter Brown has shown some sort of form we've not seen from him all season long. And 4th spot, he's got his elbows out in the first couple of laps. He ran off track coming out of turn at number 4, but still holds 4th position. Harrison Crosby and Kyle Payne in 5th and 6th position seem to be a little bit hesitant in his opening couple of laps, and you can't blame them. They are 1st and 2nd in the championship and will not want to crash in the opening stages of the race. But Ryan Hitchcock is applying the pressure to Lucas Brown in 2nd position. Carter Brown in 4th spot. He has nothing to lose, so Carter Brown will mix it up with your championship contenders, who are Bannister, Hitchcock, Crosby and Payne. Lucas Brown is in 5th position in the championship. He can't win it. He's too far behind in the championship, but he will be going all out for race victories, as well as he's putting pressure on the number 2 of Josh Bannister. This is a scorching race at the early stages of the mini GP50s. Race number 1. Harrison Crosby in 5th is looking round the outside of Carter Brown. Can he get the switchback in towards turn number 7? No, he can't. Carter Brown going defensive with his defensive riding. This is opening a gap towards the top 3. Carter Brown looks over his shoulder, sees that Crosby nearly made a move up the inside, but not making it stick just yet. It's a matter of when, not if, for Harrison Crosby.
Well, there's live championship is this. Crosby on 379, Payne on 376, Hitchcock on 361, Bannister on 352. Our 2 championship leaders right together on circuit. In fact, they couldn't be any closer. Crosby in 5th, Payne in 6th place, and he is only, well, he's within 2 tenths. So this getting very, very close in mini GP50. The title is on the line, and Carl Payne almost having a look up the inside there of Crosby, who's going to be getting ever so frustrated now behind Carter Brown in 4th place. He's going to be getting more and more frustrated with every single turn because he is being delayed here, and looking to the outside now as they go around turn 8. He leaves the door open though for Payne to try and get down the inside. A well constructed move there from Crosby, who took a wider line through turn 8, performed the switchback, and he's into 4th place. Was Carl Payne able to get through and go into 5th? don't believe he was. No, he wasn't. So Payne sits in 6th place for the time being, and now he needs to get past Carter Brown as quickly as possible. The situation out front, Josh Bannister leads from Lucas Brown, but Ryan Hitchcock in 3rd has just set the fastest lap as he chases down the 2 leaders.
I just saw it in the commentary box window. Payne made a move on Brown, but nearly clipped the back of the number 37 rider. There seems to be a rider going slow out there on the track. Not sure who that could be for the time being. Might be one of the riders further down the field. But with 8 laps remaining as they come across start finish line now, still Bannister from Brown, from Hitchcock. Hitchcock is flying at the moment, setting fastest lap of the race. He's the fastest rider on the circuit for the moment. As I say that, Crosby comes across the line. He is the fastest rider on track at the moment, a 48.3. So we've got to keep an eye out on Harrison Crosby, your championship leader, trying to bridge the gap towards the top 3 of Bannister, Brown and Hitchcock. So Bannister and Hitchcock they have a bit to lose, but they don't have as much to lose as Crosby and as Payne, because they are further behind in the championship. So Bannister is 41 points behind Harrison Crosby coming into this race, and Ryan Hitchcock was a further 23 points behind Harrison Crosby. So those two have everything to play for in 1st and 3rd, but Josh Bannister is soaking up the pressure from Lucas Brown for the time being. Ryan Hitchcock is applying the pressure to Lucas Brown, who's applying it to Josh Bannister, and Harrison Crosby is not catching the leaders. Harrison Crosby is dropping ever further back. He's a couple of tenths slower than Ryan Hitchcock last time round, but this is how it stands at the time being. Crosby will be on 381 points. He will extend his gap over Kyle Payne to 4 points as he sits on 376. Hitchcock will move ever closer to the top 2 on 361, and Bannister will be bringing himself back into contention on 352 points respectively.
Well, that is the situation. The situation is getting closer and closer with every single lap. Josh Bannister leading. He comes through the final corner over the start-finish line now and in towards turn number 1. We can see Lucas Brown in 2nd place. Ryan Hitchcock is in 3rd place. The gap between the top 3, 1.3 seconds at the moment. The gap back to Harrison Crosby in 4th is 3 seconds at the moment. Now Carl Payne in 6th place really needs to clear Carter Brown here. He is being delayed by Carter Brown, and it is not doing him any favours at all in terms of the championship. Since getting past Carter Brown...
Oh, sorry about that, Chris. Brown ran on the grass coming out of turn at number 7 and nearly slipped off the bike. He stayed on it, but he's now under pressure from Ryan Hitchcock.
Yep, well, good spot there, and it's allowed Josh Bannister to actually build a 1.3 second advantage over the rest of the field. Now Lucas Brown still in 2nd, Ryan Hitchcock in 3rd. I have to say though, Carter Brown is holding on to Harrison Crosby, so Carter Brown actually growing into this race here. He's getting faster and faster, and he is no longer really delaying Carl Payne. He's holding on to Harrison Crosby, the championship leader, and keeping him very honest, and we may even see Carter Brown challenge the championship leader a little bit later on. They are very close together. Through the right-hander they go, now into the very tight left-hander at turn number 7. Up towards the final corner they go. A brief look to the outside for Kyle Payne, and no mistakes from Carter Brown in the middle of 2 riders fighting for the championship. An unusual situation for him. Just 4 laps remaining, and Carl Payne now looking to the inside of Carter Brown. Brave on the brakes. Carter Brown brave around the outside, but unfortunately he just ran a little bit too wide there, and Payne is now into 5th. So the championship is going to change again. That means it was 2 points between Crosby and Payne. They are in 5th and 6th place, which means it will grow by 1 point. So there'll be 3 points between the top 2 in the championship, who lay 5th and who lay 4th and 5th on track respectively. So in fact it's going to grow by 2 points, which means it'll be a 4-point advantage, I believe. But we have a live update coming for you any second now, so don't go anywhere. Live updates coming all weekend long, and we're going to need them, because I believe, Liam, this one's going to the very final race.
We hope so indeed. I can't imagine this battle for 4th will be staying the way it is for the time being. Kyle Payne all over the back of his championship rival Harrison Crosby with only 2.5 laps remaining. They both dropped. Carter Brown, was there a move for fourth? Yes, there was. Kyle Payne is now up into fourth spot ahead of Harrison Crosby. That is going to change the complexion of this championship dramatically. If it stays the way it is, they will be equal on points. Equal on points. Kyle Payne is now in fourth ahead of Harrison Crosby. Can Crosby retaliate with 2 and a bit laps remaining? This is absolutely epic for this Mini GP50 Championship in 2019. So Bannister still leads away from Brown, from Hitchcock, Payne, and then Crosby, your top 5. If it stays the way it is, Crosby will still lead the championship, but will be equal on points with Kyle Payne due to more race wins. Hitchcock will be a further 12 points behind, or a further 18 points behind the pair, and then Bannister will be 27 points back, so he will be closing the gap by 13 points in this championship. But it's not all over yet. Hitchcock is all over the back of Kyle Payne. Is he all over the back of him? Is he alongside him? He's nearly alongside Kyle Payne, so this is anyone's race for the victory. This topping changing every single lap as they make their way across start finish line with a lap to go, Chris.
Well, I can tell you what, if Carl Payne can make this move on Hitchcock can make this move on Brown, he'll close the gap to 14 points. So this is a really important battle we have going on here with Ryan Hitchcock trying to get past Brown for second place. Bannister doing a fantastic job out front. He's really brought himself back into contention here. We are on the final lap of the race, so just half a lap remaining, Liam, and Josh Bannister in the lead.
Josh Bannister has played it cool and collective throughout the entire race, but what is cool and collective is a battle for second. Hitchcock's looking up the inside of Payne but not making a move yet, but the number 2 of Josh Bannister has a bit of a moment over the bump behind the lap marker of Cameron Silva. It comes across the line. Josh Bannister sees the check flag, picks up race number 1, race victory in the Mini GP50s. Lucas Brown in second, Ryan Hitchcock in third. Who will it be for fourth? It's Kyle Payne. Kyle Payne holds off Crosby for fourth position. Crosby drops to fifth, which means going into our final 2 races tomorrow, Kyle Payne and Harrison Crosby are equal on points. So great ride all the way down the order from every single rider. So it's going to be Josh Bannister who takes the race win ahead of Lucas Brown. Ryan Hitchcock had to settle for third position, and fourth it was Kyle Payne, who now ties on points with Harrison Crosby in the championship. Carter Brown valiantly held off Payne and Crosby throughout most of the race, but dropped back to 6th in the closing stages. And then Ronnie Harrison 7th, Harrison McKay in 8th, Ollie Horner in 9th, Holly Harrison 10th, Finn and Werrington in 11th, and then Ben Jolliffe in 12th spot. Out of Cameron Shaw, Luke Schofield, Aston Dean, Jacob Stevenson and Philippe Sorowik in 17th, and Sylvan Moundy was your only non-finisher, Chris.
Well, there are the points. Crosby and Payne are tied. Hitchcock coming into this race was 23 points back. He is now only 18 points back, and Josh Bannister has done himself a huge amount of favours. He was 41 points back. He is now only 27 points back. He's closed the gap by 14 points. He is now well in contention to fight for the lead of the championship. He is on pole position for every race this weekend, so pole position for him in both races tomorrow. It is all to play for. Any one of those 4 riders, you have to say, can go and win this championship, and with what we've just seen there, all 4 of them would be deserved champions.
They all would indeed. They've been fighting out brilliantly all season long. Now, if Bannister wins the remaining races tomorrow and either Payne or Crosby don't finish higher than 4th, Bannister will lose the championship by only a point to one of those 2. So
why did you work that out?
I don't know. I just thought it was 26 points he would pull away from them in the next 2 races. He's 27 behind, so Bannister would just miss out. But Josh Bannister showed how brilliant he is around the Tattershall circuit, and it's all to play for. So make sure you don't miss races 2 and 3 of the Mini GP50s with us at Tattershall on Sunday, because it's going to be an absolute cracker. But here is Chris to give us the grid for the Extreme 200s.
Yeah, well, Liam tries to get his breath back from that one and has a quick lie down. Let's go through the grid. Extreme 200s are out on to the circuit, and the grid will be as so. Richard Holmes-Williams, after the devastation he had in the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team race, hopefully he can turn his luck around this one. He's going to be on pole position. Rossi Banham alongside Taylor Lawrence and Josh Ingram will be rotating. 2. Brandon Perrell and Jamie King. Winner earlier will be row 3. Gary Winfield and Finn Smart, row 4. Jack Andrews and Anthony Perrell will be on row number 5. Of course, Jamie King previously winning there on the Pick Bike 140 and Moto Team race. That is the grid for you, Liam. Let's get over to you then for the race start. I think we are ready to rock and roll.
So, Richard Holmes Williams is your champion of 2019, but it won't stop him going out and trying to win the remaining 3 races of the Extreme 200 class. Now, the battle for third is well and truly open between Brandon Perrell and Jamie King, who start alongside each other on row number 3. Brandon Perrell only needs 6 more points than Jamie King to wrap up third position in the championship. Can he do it today, or will it roll into tomorrow? But the riders are eagerly waiting the green flag for the start of race number 1 here at Tattershall, round number 8 of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. The green flag drops now and the clutches slip out, and Richard Holmes Williams gets a great start, but Rossi Banham into the lead round the outside and to turn number 1. Taylor Lawrence has dropped to 4th because Josh Ingram has made his way up into 3rd. Brandon Perrell still holds 5th ahead of Jamie King as they make their way through turn number 3. A bit of a move for 4th spot, not quite doing it was Taylor Lawrence on Josh Ingram, but will he do it into turn number 5? Late on the brakes, but not late enough. Brandon Perrell trying to swoop round the outside of the number 10 rider of Lawrence, but Rossi Banham, who's picked up a few race wins in the last couple of rounds, especially at Rowra, holds the lead of this race, but he's got Richard Holmes Williams all over the back of the 86 as they make the way into turn number 8. Will Holmes Williams get the switchback as they power their way down towards the final corner? He won't do it just yet, but Brandon Perrell putting pressure on Taylor Lawrence and 4th, but to come across start finish line to complete lap number 1, it's Banham from Holmes Williams from Lawrence and 3rd ahead of Josh Ingram. Brandon Perrell has opened up a gap on his 3rd position in the championship rival Jamie King, who's in 6th. Gary Winfield in 7th, Jack Andrews in 8th, Finn Smart in 8th, and Anthony Perrell, the dad of Brandon, in 10th.
Yeah, well, here we go then. Round turn number 5. Very close between the leaders. Holmes Williams looking to take a wide line. He left the door open for Taylor Lawrence to potentially go through it, but Taylor Lawrence staying put for the time being. Josh Ingram is in 4th place. Brandon Perrell in 5th. Then it is Jamie King in 6th, who's actually 1.2 seconds back from the top 5. Then we have Winfield, Andrews, Smart and Anthony Perrell in 10th place. Less than 2 seconds between the top 5. This one nicely poised for a very good race, you have to say. Brandon Perrell applying lots and lots of pressure to Josh Ingram in 4th place. He's looking eager to get into 4th place. He can see the top 3 are beginning to break away. The top 3 only 8 tenths apart, and Holmes Williams crawling all over the back of Rossi Banham at the moment. Taylor Lawrence sitting in 3rd place, waiting for something to kick off. Liam, it feels like one of those races where we're going to see a lead group become more and more diluted as the laps tick by, because Banham and Holmes Williams threatening to escape in 1st and 2nd at the moment.
You have the feeling that Taylor Lawrence is just trying to cling onto the coattails of the top 2, but it looked like it was a bit of a change for 4th for the time being. I just had a look at the shadows. It looked like Brandon Perrell was about to move into 4th spot, but not making the move just stick. But Brandon Perrell is showing great form here at the Tattershall racecourse. He always gives his absolute all out there on the 146 machine and the Rossi replica helmet from 2015. So Rossi Banham, we're talking about Rossi's all the time here in the Extreme 200 class, but Rossi Banham still leads this race ahead of Richard Holmes and Williams, and Holmes Williams is nearly looking up the inside as he made the way through the left-handed kink and towards turn number 8, but Banham still holds lead of this race for the time being. Across start finish line to come. Who will it be into turn at number 1? Will it be Banham holding the lead, or will it be Holmes Williams? They've dropped Taylor Lawrence to 3rd spot, 7 tenths further back, and then Ingram still holding Brandon Perrell at bay in 4th and 5th position. Jamie King having a bit of a lonely ride in 6th spot, 7 seconds ahead of Finn Smart. Finn Smart has gone from 9th to 8th. He's now in 7th, so Finn Smart showing great form in the Extreme 200 class at the moment. Gary Winfield drops down to 8th, Jack Andrews in 9th, and Anthony Perrell in 10th position. But Holmes Williams just looking to see where Rossi Banham is a little bit quicker, where he's got more strength on this Tattershall circuit, and Rossi Banham running a little bit wide over the bumps at turn number 8 as they make their way through the final corner. Flat out turn, the right-hander, the final corner, bit of movement from Rossi Banham late on the brakes into turn number 1. Richard Holmes Williams just seems to be a little bit more comfortable on the machine at the moment. Rossi Banham seems to be pushing a little bit more, getting that bike a bit more squirrely as he tries to hold the lead.
Well, Holmes Williams, I think, I might be proved wrong any second, but I think he's just staying put for the time being and just allowing these two as a pair to escape from the rest of the field. Holmes Williams, maybe he's just waiting for the right time, but at the moment I think he's happy to just let the laps tick by. Let's clear Taylor Lawrence and let's just sort this out between ourselves in the final few laps there. Long races are the Extreme 200 ones. We still have 7 laps to go as we go across the line now. We're almost halfway through. 12 lappers they are in total, and Taylor Lawrence in 3rd place, I believe, will just be hoping that a fight kicks off ahead, but Holmes Williams doing the most frustrating thing for Taylor Lawrence, and he is just happy to stay where he is. Now Brandon Perrell has been putting a lot of pressure on Ingram, but Ingram has been equal to that and is standing his ground in 4th place. King in 6th, Finn Smart is 7th place, Winfield 8th, Jack Andrews 9th, Anthony Perrell in 10th place. This is going to bring us to the halfway stage. 6 down, 6 to go as they come through the final corner, and Rossi Banham, holding the fastest lap of the race, still leads at the moment, but I think we're going to have to wait a few more laps before we see a real attempt from Holmes Williams. Liam.
Banham has a fantastic riding style as he makes his way into turn number 1, backing in slightly, keeping it under control, the back end of the bike. Very nice to watch, but Richard Holmes Williams is not playing ball with that. He's keeping his wheels very much in line as they both have very contrasting riding styles around the Tattershall circuit. Through the infield section, they both go. They're 2 seconds clear of the number 10 of Taylor Lawrence. Richard Holmes Williams, Tractor Boy as he is known by all his friends and family, just ploughing along very nicely in 2nd spot as he puts pressure on the number 86 of Rossi Banham. But coming across our finish lane once again, 5 laps remaining. Is there a change for 4th position? Not quite. Brandon Perrell gets a great run out of the turn at 9, flat out right-hander down the straight, but he can't make the move stick, but still applying lots of pressure on Josh Ingram. Josh Ingram soaking it up very nicely indeed, not showing any signs of making any mistakes, but Brandon Perrell, the yellow Perrell, is putting on as much pressure as he possibly can with only a few laps remaining. There's 4 and a bit laps remaining, but Banham still got Holmes Williams climbing all over the back of the 86 rider as they complete another lap. There's 4 to go, Chris.
Yeah, well, I think this is the time in the race now where Holmes Williams is going to start to think about a move. Usually in racing it's the generic term is 2 to go, and that's almost when it's time to get on the defensive if you're in the lead. Will Holmes Williams attack a little bit earlier? Well, that was a signal to me. He actually came up to turn 5 there, did Holmes Williams, and just showed his front wheel to the inside of Rossi Banham. So that is a signal to say it's time to go to war now for this first race win of the weekend in the Extreme 200s. And as he comes out of the penultimate corner, he was certainly almost alongside. Across the line go the 2 leaders. It is Banham and Holmes Williams in that order, but Holmes Williams going through the gears now in terms of the pressure he is applying. He's really starting to crank this up, and we're going to have a thoroughly entertaining fight, I'm sure, to the flag here between Banham and Holmes Williams. Holmes Williams, fastest lap of the race for him, which he set earlier in the race. Taylor Lawrence is some 3 seconds back from this now. Ingram has a gap of about half a second to Brandon Perrell as we head up towards turn number 8 for the 10th time of asking. We're going to go on to the final 2 laps of the race. Who's going to see the checkered flag first, though? Will it be Banham or will it be Holmes Williams?
Holmes Williams has had a lot to contend with Banham in the last couple of rounds, starting off with Wilton Mill, then Rowra, and now here at Tattershall. Round number 8, the final round of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. A lap and a half remaining. You can just feel the tension bubbling up underneath the surface. This isn't over just yet. Going defensive goes Banham into turn at number 5. The banked left-handed hairpin, but runs a little bit wide on exit. That just gives Holmes-Williams a bit of a run round the outside. Will he make a move into turn at number 7? Not yet. That's a potential surprise for Banham on the last lap. If he can make a move stick, can Holmes-Williams. But 2 more corners to go before the start of the final lap of the race. Over the bumps to go, down towards the final corners, flat out right-hander, and you see the last lap board. The final lap of the race has begun. Power down the straight, lay on the brakes. Will Holmes-Williams go up the side of Banham? Lay on the brakes is Banham, and Holmes-Williams does take the lead at the last possible moment. And later on the brakes goes Banham, and can Banham produce a retaliation on this final lap? Chris, it's anyone's race to play for.
Yeah, Holmes-Williams, fantastic move. He's played his cards right here, waited until the final opportunity, and now he has not given Rossi Banham a huge amount of time to respond. Half a lap, in fact, so time very quickly running out, and Holmes-Williams has ridden a very, very good race here. He's waited until the final lap and thrown one down the inside of Banham, leaving him absolutely no time to respond. Holmes-Williams coming through the final corner. What a fantastic performance. He takes the race win by just under half a second. Fantastic battle between himself and Banham. Brilliant race, 1-0 to Holmes-Williams. I think that's fair to say. Can Banham respond in the 2 races tomorrow? Lawrence is 3rd, Ingram 4th, Peril 5th place. Couldn't quite get past Ingram despite closing that gap to just 1/10 a second. We await for Finn Smart to come across the line, who had got past Jamie King for 6th place. So moving up the order very well there was Finn Smart, and just heading up towards the line. He is now through the final corner. He comes and indeed finished 6th place. Brilliant performance from Finn. And then we had Jamie King 7th, Gary Winfield 8th, Jack Andrews 9th, and Anthony Peril. We did not see him in that one, unfortunately. But Liam, Richard Holmes-Williams, fantastic ride, wasn't it? He, as we said, just waited and waited. Final lap. There we go, 7-1.
Keeping his powder dry, as they would say, and waiting to the final lap of the race. Didn't want to show a wheel too early because he thought that maybe if he did, then Rossi Banham could retaliate and make a move on him, possibly into the final lap. But on the last lap of the race, Holmes-Williams did set the fastest lap of the race with a 45.333, so it's showing that he had pace in hand for the closing stages of the race. But with the Extreme 200 race wrapped up, and of course the championship wrapped up in that class, there's only one more race to go, and of course it is the premier class of the Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. It's the Mini GP70s, and they make their way round the grid. The championship could be wrapped up here today. Evan Belfort, your championship leader, 70 points ahead of O'Shea, and Stuart Campbell will be looking to take the 2019 Series Championship. He will be starting second on the grid, just behind Bailey Stuart Campbell. Johnny Garness on bike number 57 will be in third, ahead of Eddie O'Shea in fourth. James Cook will be heading off row number 5. Ollie Walker will be 6th alongside him. Thomas Gomez on bike number 98 will be in 4th, ahead of Owen Mellor. Dylan Miller, the second of the Mellors, will be on the 5th row of the grid in 9th, and then rounding at the top 10 is Carter Brown. Alfie Davidson next up in 11th, ahead of Kyle Payne on bike number 25. Harrison McKay on bike number 61 is in 13th, ahead of Harrison Crosby. Ryan Hitchcock is next up in 15th on bike number 43, ahead of Joe Farragher, and rounding out the top 17, all of the runners and riders for the start of the Mini GP70s. First race of the weekend here at Tattershall, the final round of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. It's Jamie Woodcock. So, as the riders are lining up on the grid, here is Chris McCarthy to take you through the start.
Looks like a problem, potentially, well, almost for Carter Brown, but I believe it was solved. Well, this is the situation in Mini GP70. Evan Belfort needs to finish in the top 10 to win the championship. Evan Belfort starts from P2, A top 10 finish will be good enough to seal it in this race. But we still have a race on our hands. Bailey Stewart-Campbell, Evan Belfort, your front row. Johnny Garness and Eddie O'Shea just behind. James Cook and Ollie Walker are going to be on row number 3. Thomas Gomez and Owen Mellor, row 4. Then it's going to be Dylan Mellor and Carter Brown. 3 more race wins to be taken this season in the Mini GP70. Everyone will be desperate to get at least one more under their belts before we finish the 2019 season. Who's going to take the first of them this weekend? Bailey Stewart-Campbell and Evan Belfort, the champion-elect. The green flag is about to be waved, and then we're going to go racing for the first time this weekend at Tattershall in the Mini GP70. Bailey Stewart-Campbell, Evan Belfort, your front row. Who's going to make it to turn 1 first? Green flag goes up, and it's down, and we're away and racing. And a brilliant start from Evan Belfort, but an even better start from Bailey Stewart-Campbell, and he takes the race lead as we go through turn number 1. So Bailey Stewart-Campbell from pole position, no problems through the first few corners. He leads us then as we make our way into the infield for the first time. Then it is Evan Belfort in second place, Johnny Garness in third place in the early stages of this one. I think that's Eddie O'Shea potentially in fourth place. Everyone still circulating nice and safely as we come up towards the penultimate corner one more time. And Evan Belfort, so far so good for him, a top 10 finish, and he wraps up the championship with 2 races to go. Across the line then, it's Bailey Stewart-Campbell who leads the way as they complete lap number 1, and second place is Evan Belfort trying to chase him down.
Great start from Bailey Stewart-Campbell, who had a bit of a crash in morning warm-up and a bit of a high side coming out of one of the corners, but we see that he's up and he's okay from that because he is leading this race. Evan Belfort is doing everything he needs to do to wrap up the championship here today, and what makes it even more impressive, his championship charge, is that he missed round at number 1 at Landau earlier in the season. We have a rider stop on the track coming out of turn number 5, not sure, that is Crosby. So Crosby stopped on the circuit there. I'm not sure if it was a bike issue or a rider issue, but he's looking down at the bike. But Harrison Crosby seems to be out of this race. But as they come across the line, starting lap at number 3, Bailey Stewart-Campbell, fastest lap of the race of 45.062. He was 0.2 of a second quicker than Evan Belfort last time round. Johnny Garness is starting to show his stature in this class, sitting in third spot, putting Evan Belfort under a bit of pressure. James Cook is showing a good form for the first time we've seen him in a while. But Carter Brown started down in 10th. He's now in 5th. So Carter Brown, after a great race in the Mini GP50s, is now showing how good he is in the 70s and charging through the field. But Evan Belfort, your championship leader, is doing everything he needs to. If it stays the way it is, he'll be in 410 points with Stewart-Campbell 65 points further back. That's all he needs to wrap up the championship here today. O'Shea will be 15 points further back than Stewart-Campbell, and then James Cook sitting on 303. So with 50 points to play for tomorrow and a 65-point championship lead going into tomorrow's event, but that means that Evan Belfort will not be able to be caught by either Stewart-Campbell or Eddie O'Shea.
Well, coming into this race, Eddie O'Shea and Stewart-Campbell were tied on points. Eddie O'Shea classified further ahead due to the fact that he has won 2 more races, 4 in total, that is for O'Shea. But with Eddie O'Shea down in 6th place and only scoring 10 points at the moment, Stewart-Campbell in first with 25. The gap is now 15 points between them, so Eddie O'Shea has work to do, and he started that by going past Carter Brown. He's into 5th place now. That'll give him a further 2 points, so it will bring it down to a 13-point gap. But can he make some more places? He's just behind James Cook at the moment and already applying significant pressure. So it's not been a good start to the race for Eddie O'Shea, but he still has 8.5 laps to try and repair any damage that was done in those opening stages. Belfort is 1 second behind Stewart-Campbell. Just needs to stay where he is. I think he'll take second place, absolutely no problem. Garness 1.2 seconds back, so he's holding his grid slot, and down towards turn number 1, the 114 of O'Shea is going to put one down the inside there of James Cook. A nice move there from Eddie O'Shea, done on the brakes over the bump. It's not an easy one to get right, but Eddie O'Shea executed that perfectly, and now he goes up to 4th place, so that will give him 13 points, and it will reduce the gap to 12 points between himself and Bailey Stewart Campbell. We'll get the live points for you so you can have a look. Evan Belfort, 410 points is good enough for him to be champion. Then we have Stewart Campbell in 2nd place. Eddie O'Shea is 3rd place in the standings, and then that is James Cook. But the points, of course, changed on the last lap, so we'll get a further update for you so you can see exactly the situation. But away from the championship, let's get to the race, because we've had some changes. Ollie Walker has gone past Thomas Gomez for 8th. Hitchcock and Davidson both past Dylan Mellor. So your top 10 is Stewart Campbell, Belford, Garness, O'Shea, Cook, Mellor, Brown, Walker, Gomez and Hitchcock.
I just wanted to point out how much of a commanding race Bailey Stewart Campbell's putting in right now. I've been watching his last 4 laps. They've all been 44.9s. He just went and set a 44.8 to set a fast lap of the race, and that lap round he just set a 45.0. So not only is the fastest rider on track, he's extremely consistent, and that is why he is leading this race. But Carter Brown's dropping that down the field a little bit. He's losing 7th place towards Ollie Walker. He's not done it yet. Late on the brakes around the outside from Carter Brown, and Ollie Walker has to settle for 8th spot for the moment. But a great scrap going on between Owen Mellor, Carter Brown, Ollie Walker and Thomas Gomez for 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th position.
Can I just say, Eddie O'Shea, the only other rider to go sub 45 seconds in this race, and he has now closed in Johnny Garness. He's within 1 second of Garness as we speak. So Eddie O'Shea on a charge as Stewart Campbell completes lap number 7, as does Evan Belford, and Eddie O'Shea is looking to the inside of Garness already, and he's through. Brilliant move. So Eddie O'Shea at turn number 1 has taken 3rd place with the fastest lap of the race as well, a 44.7. So that's now 16 points to Eddie O'Shea. He'll be 9 points back from Stewart Campbell in 3rd place. Well, Eddie O'Shea, if the flag were to fall now, does he have time to now go after Evan Belford, I wonder?
With the way the lap times are looking at the moment, he does indeed. He's only 1.8 seconds back behind Evan Belford, but if it stays the way it is, just to remind you, Evan Belford will be the 2019 champion in the Mini GP70 class, with Stewart Campbell and Eddie O'Shea 2nd and 3rd. So we'll give you a live point score with 4 laps remaining. A change for 7th perhaps from Ollie Walker. Ollie Walker late on the brakes up the inside of Carter Brown. He already passed Carter Brown. That was a move for 6th. He's up the inside into 6th spot for Ollie Walker. There's 3.5 laps remaining of this race number 1 in the Mini GP70 class. And looking at Eddie O'Shea, another new fastest lap. Last time around a 44.5. He's on fire right now. He was half a second quicker than Evan Belford, and he was 0.8 of a second quicker than Bailey Stewart Campbell. So Evan Belford will be coming under pressure from the 1:14 of Eddie O'Shea with 2 and a bit laps remaining. So we'll wait for them to come across the line. So we've got Evan Belford in 2nd, but coming under attack from the 1:14 of Eddie O'Shea. We've got a crash at the final corner. We've got a crash at the final corner. We've got one of the Mellors down, the 130. That's a big crash. He's waving his bike, so we've got a red flag. Owen Mellor down at the final corner. Not sure what happened there between Owen Mellor's 2 bikes down. That is Carter Brown as well, has been tangled up in that. So the 2 blue bikes of Owen Mellor and Carter Brown down at the final corner. The both bikes sitting on the banking. Hopefully both riders are okay, but frantically waving his hand was Owen Mellor as he got back up. But the red flags have come out. Thankfully, there was 3 laps remaining of that race. We will bring you an update as and when we get it on if we will get a restart to this race.
I don't believe so, and I believe, of course, the result goes back a lap, doesn't it? I'm not too sure if that's the rule, but if that was the case, then I think, though, the 2 riders involved will hold the position that they had.
Yes, we'll have to.
I believe so, but
just to remind you, if we don't start this race, that means the number 52 of Evan Belford will be the Mini GP70 champion of 2019. So the points are live now. He'll be on 410. So this is the provisional point standings for the moment. He will be on 410. 65 points ahead of Stuart Campbell on 345. Eddie O'Shea would be 9 points further back than Stuart Campbell on 336, and James Cook would have dropped back to 4th spot on 301. So this is the provisional standings at the moment. We will find out if and when this is potential starting again. The riders aren't sure, we're not sure here, so we will get more information when it happens. But we've got to talk about that race, Chris.
Yeah.
It was shaping up very nicely, with Eddie O'Shea showing a lot of speed towards the end, catching Evan Belfort. But I think Stuart Campbell's probably a bit too far ahead to potential of catch, but some great scraps all the way down the field. What was your standout from the race so far?
Oh, Eddie O'Shea, 100%. He started in 4th and just didn't get a good start at all. But Eddie O'Shea grew into the race and set pace that no one else could get near. He was doing his best lap of the race was a 44.5, and then we had a 44.8 from Stuart Campbell, so he was 3/10 quicker than anyone. And I believe it is now becoming official
looks
that
like
Evan Belfort is our 2019 champion in the Mini GP 70 class, and it looks like he is prepared for this moment in advance. He came in to this round with a 70-point advantage, and it looks like he has a crash helmet that he has prepared for this moment. So while we can see that happening, we have to talk about Evan Belfort. He's won what is the premier class in the FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the official partner series of the British Superbikes, and the Road to MotoGP as well. People who win this series go on to do very good things, and Evan Belfort is following in the footsteps of some very special riders, isn't he?
Yes, indeed. We've had the likes of Scott Redding, Brad Ray, Strudwick, James Cook, and Max Cook as well. So James Cook is Max Cook's little brother. We've had lots of people, Danny Kent as well, come through this series, and Evan Belfort. What makes this season even more impressive, as I've mentioned before, is that he missed round number 1 after breaking his collarbone in practice at Landown, and he's come back. He's won race after race. He's been the rider to beat, and he's producing a burnout out there in the circuit. That's what we like to see, burning rubber, as he doesn't need those tyres for the rest of the season. But it's not the way you want to win it with a red flag, but nonetheless he's put in all the effort throughout the entire season, and he is our deserved champion in the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship Series, the premier class of the Mini GP 70s. So got a couple of burnouts from Evan Belfort and Johnny Garness as they made their way back into the pits, and as the tyres go up in smoke, the crowd are definitely getting a great scene out there on the circuit. I'm actually quite surprised how much smoke these Mini GP 70s get to produce. So wearing it all the way down to the canvas. Brilliant scenes here at the final round of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship at Tattershall. Chris, what would be your potential standout of Evan Belfort's season?
It's hard to pick one, isn't it? It's just been constant pressure on the rest of the riders, constant success, and Evan Belfort has won the championship, I think, in a way that he would have dreamed to have won it in. It wasn't a last lap, last corner thing, but it was more of a case of he was down. He was quite literally, he had a big incident on the first round, and he came back and fought back to win it from behind. And I think that's how any rider would love to go and win, from coming from behind like that with a deficit to then go and win with 2 races to go. I don't think there's a real better way you can go and win a championship, particularly at this level. At Mini GP 70, they're on the brink of breaking into the biggest paddocks in the sport, and Evan Belfort is going to have all eyes on him, I think, from some pretty big manufacturers.
He will indeed. Evan Belfort has been a superstar this season, as you would say, and well, he's going off towards the British Talent Cup in 2019 and 2020, as many of them are, but Evan Belfort gets to go up as the champion of the premier class of the Mini GP 70s.
You asked me the question. You've been here at every single round.
was wondering
What's been your highlight for Evan Belfort? Because I know you've spoken to him a lot over the season, and you've been there for every single race, so try and pick one out for us if you can.
I've got to say, I can't pick just one thing, but a number of things, but I'll try and see if I can pick it from this. But Evan Belfort, he's just been a class above the rest in terms of being able to soak up pressure from the lead, and he's just a very humble character as well. You speak to him in the paddock and he's quite shy. He just doesn't believe where he is in terms of his own talent of what he can do, but he's shown the absolute speed. And if there's one thing I've got to pick out from Evan Belfort in 2019, it's been the ability to be able to soak up any bit of pressure that's ever been applied to him.
Well, we had two championships wrapped up today in the sidecars and the Mini GP70s. But going into tomorrow, it's still all to play for in the AC40 rookies and the Mini GP50s as well. So that's day one complete here at our season finale at Tattershall. Tomorrow, 2 more races coming up for each class. We may be greeted with some pretty horrendous weather, though. We have to thank all the marshals, all the track staff here at Tattershall for welcoming us so well, as they always do, and putting on a very good race for us today. They're going to be putting on a very good race for us tomorrow, I'm sure. But from myself, Chris McCarthy and Liam Hodgins, thank you very much for being with us on this Saturday at Tattershall for round number 8. We're going to finish the 2019 season tomorrow, and we leave you with our Mini GP70 champion. It is Evan Belfort. Congratulations to him. Second in that race was good enough to do it. What will he go on to do?